From the rooftops, baby, we are here. Robbie Lastella, Drew Shula filling in for the great AJ Johnson on the Bleacher Brothers show tonight. How is everyone doing? I guess everyone, by everyone, I'm talking to Drew. It's just me and Drew tonight. Drew, how's it going?
I'm doing great. One of my favorite days of the year with the NFL draft coming up in just a few hours. And obviously, we are fortunate enough to talk to Coach John Jakus very, very soon. So it's going to be a great, great night.
As Drew said, action-packed episode. Myself, Drew, will talk to Coach Jakus coming up here in just about 15 minutes. From 7:30 to 8:30, we'll have Christian Proscia live from the draft in Detroit. So a lot going on tonight, but a lot went on yesterday. The Heat, my Miami Heat, that's the big news I got from last night. The Heat overcame the Celtics, overcame all the haters who said the Heat can make all their shots and still lose, or the Celtics are going to win in 4. The Heat suck. Da 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 da. Heat culture, baby. Heat culture is here, and it's active. I love to see it. Kendrick Perkins had to come out and issue an apology. Joe Mazzulla's dealing with heat. He's dealing with heat both on the court and off the court. Drew, did you catch the Heat game last night at all, or you were just busy diving into that big board?
A little bit busy, but just as a South Florida sports fan myself, extremely happy they were able to snag one. Jimmy Butler posted on Instagram. What did he say? Don't let us get one.
And they let him get one. He put the meme on his Instagram, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Jimmy Butler's out for the remainder of the series, and he's posting memes on Instagram. Absolute troll legend. So the Heat are off tonight, but we'll be back in action on Saturday, and they'll look to try to steal game 3, go up 2-1. Man, I would not want to be the Celtics facing down the barrel of the Miami Heat with a chance to go down 3-1. Celtics better win this game on Saturday. That's all I'm going to say. But, if they don't, it's going to get real interesting in terms of, can the Celtics come back from a 2-1 deficit against the Heat? Because the Heat, they're not as good at home, surprisingly, against the Celtics. But on the road, they're better. So if it goes 7, based on statistics and odds and how the Heat have fared on the road and at home against the Celtics, Heat are favored. So you know what? If the Heat somehow pull this out, I wouldn't be shocked, but I guess I'd be a little bit surprised. So we shall see how they do on Saturday. Tonight, we've got Cleveland versus Orlando. We've got Lakers, Nuggets, and Knicks, Sixers. For me, I'm actually going to give you guys a little bit of a parlay before we get going. I'm confident in these 3 teams winning tonight. If you parlay them together, bet responsibly, of course. Use Bet365 if you're eligible. That's one of the partners of the Bleacher Brothers show. But I'm saying, give me the Cavs, give me the Lakers tonight, and give me the Knicks. If you parlay that, that's plus 1096 odds. So a lot of value in there. Cleveland's it's gonna be tough. They're on the road against Orlando. But when have you ever looked at the Magic and said, "Oh, that home court advantage is going to take us down"? So I'm taking the Cavs, I'm taking the Lakers, and I'm taking the Knicks.
I like it, Robbie. I might have to tail myself. I always like to support the Florida sports teams. But man, the Magic were a good team this year, but what's going on with them? They're playing some bad basketball right now. They're not efficient. I can't tell you what's going on, Robbie.
I think it's a really tough matchup for the Magic. Jarrett Allen is a matchup problem for him. Evan Mobley is a matchup problem for him. And that doesn't even count Donovan Mitchell, who's their best scorer. So if they can't battle with the bigs down low, which Paolo's having a bit of an issue with, Franz Wagner's having a bit of an issue with, it's going to be a short series. I'm interested to see if Paolo can get big here, maybe feed off the crowd a little bit and shut down. Because in game 1, they just destroyed them on the rebounds. Game 2 was a little bit closer, but they still lost the rebound battle. If the Magic can somehow find a way to win the rebound battle against the Cavs, it'll help them. But still, I do not know if the Magic have enough scoring to outpace the Cavs. The Cavs are very lethal, in my opinion. If Donovan Mitchell gets hot, that's a very sleeper team in the East.
Yeah, and I think you talked about it before, man. The Magic are small. It's hard for them to match up a team with Evan Mobley. It's just tough, man. And then Donovan Mitchell, obviously, it's real difficult for the Magic. I don't really see him making a push anytime soon.
It's you always doubt the Magic until they somehow make a run. This year has been one of their best years in recent memory, but still, for some reason, I'm just not 100% confident in the Magic. We shall see their back in action on Saturday as well. Um, Knicks, Sixers, though, tonight. Get your popcorn. Sixers coming for vengeance, especially after the NBA came out and said that Tyrese Maxey was fouled, that they should have gotten a timeout. Everything went in the Knicks' favor. Now they take it up the turnpike to Philadelphia. Can the Sixers somehow salvage a game? I don't necessarily know. They are running on E. Joel Embiid specifically is running on E. And I just do not know if they got enough in the tank to overcome Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Deuce McBride going off every now and then as well. So we shall see. We shall see.
Indeed, we will. Maybe the Orlando Magic will pull out some magic themselves. But, yeah, I really like the Knicks tonight. I'll say that. I really, really like the Knicks tonight. So hopefully I don't get burned on that.
And then Lakers versus Nuggets. I do think the Nuggets are going to come out in this series on top, but I think the Lakers steal a game here tonight. They kept it close in the last one, had an unfortunate ending there, just couldn't find a way to push it through. But LeBron was 4 of 11 at shots at the rim in that game. That doesn't happen very often. I'll be honest, I don't track LeBron's shots at the rim every single night, but I know 4 of 11 is a down night for LeBron, and when you have that in a playoff game, I don't even at that point. What are you even doing? It's just tough for him. All right, so it seems like we are going to take a quick break here on the Lastella Report, Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. When we come back, we've got FAU basketball head coach John Jakus joining us here in just a moment. We will be right back.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
We good? Welcome back, everybody, to the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Robbie Lastella, Drew Shula here, and we are joined now by former spring break enjoyer, current Seinfeld fan, and portal navigator, but most importantly, FAU heads men basketball coach John Jakus. Coach, thank you so much for hopping on with us tonight. And how are you doing on this fine Thursday evening in Boca del Vista?
I'm doing great. I like all three adjectives you use for me, so I appreciate that. And we're just hanging out at the Opal right now. We got some recruits in town, so I'm fighting in the portal for sure. But I'm outside in a pool cabana, so I can spend 20 minutes with you in quiet and hang out. So thanks for having me.
You got to enjoy those pool cabanas. I don't know the landscape in Waco, Texas too much, but I can't imagine pool cabanas are the biggest commodity out there.
No, I think we're winning. We're winning right now with this. Step forward.
Oh yeah, no, but probably not a ton of time to hit the shuffleboard courts in between portal navigating, but also moving a family across the country from Waco to Boca Raton. How has that been? How's everything going? Hopefully the family is still on board to come to Paradise.
Yeah, they're still on board. I appreciate you asking about my family first. You know, a lot of people probably would just jump straight to the basketball. So that's incredibly kind of you. They won't get here until June. They've got to finish school. So it'll be another 4 to 6 weeks without them. I've seen my wife one day at the press conference, and then I flew home for one day to see my kids. But it'll all work out in the end. It's for a reason and a purpose. And we want to be good at basketball, and that's just part of the deal. So they'll get here eventually, and we'll find a place to live. But Boca's a beautiful place, so we're thankful.
The real estate search probably can come later. You've been busy
We've started. It's slow, but we've started.
I don't even want to imagine looking at the Boca Raton real estate. Just I look at rent. Obviously I'm not buying, but from a rental perspective, very scary. Not something I'd want to look at and combat in the portal. But a lot of good in Boca Raton. And you mentioned in your opening press conference about, in the past turning down jobs, waiting for the right opportunity. And specifically, this was one that your wife agreed with. What was it about Boca Raton, really? I mean, the spring break, it's awesome. You've been here before, but what was it about Boca Raton that showed you that it's okay to relocate your family here across the country?
Yeah, I think my wife Sarah and I have been part of two great programs when it comes to the collegiate side. And the thing about Mark at Gonzaga and Scott at Baylor is that they've chosen a place and then they didn't move. They made it their own. And you saw with Scott this summer, he could have gone to Louisville or Kentucky and ended up staying at Baylor. Mark has had every job offered to him in the world. He's so good at what he does. And they've just stayed and they've made something real. And coming off the Final Four, I think the location, the ability to raise money for NIL, I think the relevance of where the program is at nationally, the Final Four run. To me, this place is ripe for success. And you want to make sure the one you choose is one you can win at. And we feel like we can win here. So my wife was all in.
It's tough to turn down an opportunity like that when it gets presented to you. And you mentioned something that Scott Drew with Baylor. That's something. Were you surprised at all that his name got floated to Kentucky? And was there any thoughts in the back of your head of the trickle down effect of, oh wow, if Baylor opens up, Jerome Tang may take that, Kansas State may call me, or maybe Kansas State may turn that down and Baylor may call me. Was there any of that going on, or were you always just full dialed in on FAU from the second you got here?
I think all of that's normally fake. I think Scott gets offered a job every single year. I got offered a job last year. So in our world, I think it's normal and nothing's real till it's real. I think the only exception is that the Kentucky Twitter crowd is relentless. And so when your name gets in the middle of that job, you got no choice. And I don't think he volunteered for that. I definitely don't think his wife volunteered for it, but they were in it. So I happen to know a little bit more about he and his family than the common Twitter fan from Kentucky. So I was not spending time thinking about whether Scott was leaving or not. I actually knew that wasn't going to be the case.
No more spending time on Twitter either, Coach. We FAU Nation noticed you deleted your Twitter before you got here. Not a fan of Twitter, or you just had to focus?
No. I think for this month, for sure, I don't want to hear what people think, and I want to spend as much time with my staff and the players as I can. The other thing is just in general, Mark Few got a little too Scott loves Twitter, but Mark and then Tommy Lloyd at Arizona, they're both guys that don't have it. They trust their main basketball account to do the job. So, I might change my mind back, but I kind of had it set in my mind once I take one that I'm going to step away and focus on other things and then just let the basketball account do it. At the end of the day, our brand is the brand. And I think that FAU brand's one of the best in the country. It's only going to get better. So we'll use the basketball account for now. And if you can change my mind later, I'll give you credit. But for now, I think we're just going to roll with what we got.
Just something I was curious about because I noticed it said Twitter, whatever it says when an account gets deleted. I saw that. So I was just curious. But, you brought up Baylor and Gonzaga and building something here. And you mentioned that in your opening press conference about how, you think you can build something better here because the beach is right outside. I agree with you 100%. Now, being here a couple of weeks, have you seen anything that tells you, yes, 100%, I'm building this, let's roll? Or has there been any obstacles or anything along those lines that you've maybe had to overcome?
I think once my staff showed up, I thought the beach and the staff were going to be just fine. And those are guys I love and that I trust, and I know how good they are at their job. I mean, Isaiah Austin left Adam Silver to come to FAU and had nothing but bright future in front of him at the NBA. We're going to have another NBA coach leave their spot here shortly. Our video and analytics guy left the Thunder to come down, and I've got a great run of college coaches attached also that know the state and know the country to recruit. So the moment they showed up, I knew for sure I wasn't lying at the press conference. Really smart coaches know they're only as good as their players and their staff. And you want to hire people that are better than you, and I feel like we've done that. So the staff for sure, to me, lent itself to that. And then the portal, people may not understand it, and it might just be my personality, but I felt like what FAU had built, those players deserved a couple weeks to make their choice, go on other visits and come back. I wasn't going to take it personal. That's just part of today's culture. But behind the scenes, we've got 9 visits set up in 7 days, and we knew this tipping point was going to come starting this past Monday. And by next Wednesday, you're going to see that we knew exactly what we were doing. So our agents and our friends and the people in the background that love us, I think they've kind of made it clear that they're going to help us also. So you get good players and a good staff and you got the beach, you're going to be okay.
And here on this Bleacher Brothers Sports Network with FAU coach John Jakus, that was actually going to lead me into my next question. You mentioned how important that staff was to you. Some awesome names: Jordan Fee, Isaiah Austin, Damon Parker. But one that many Owls fans also were delighted to see was the retention of Todd Abernathy. What was your goal when you first sat down to build this staff? And now that it's complete, like what excites you the most about it?
Yeah, the Todd thing was a surprise. We actually have like 100 friends in common, and we just didn't know each other. I went to Trinity in Chicago, and he was actually a head coach there for 1 year. And the moment I got the job, my phone had about 1,500 to 2,500 texts. That's probably another reason why I deleted Twitter, because I had more than enough going on my own phone. And by the time I buzzed through those 2,500 texts, I had probably 50 to 100 people ask me to keep Todd. And then some of the players did also. And then he's got 4 kids. And they've got a school that they go down to here special for one of his sons, and him and his wife wanted to stay. When you just laid out his history, he's been an SEC assistant. He's been an assistant in the Final Four. We really needed somebody who knew the lay of the land. As we do, you're trying to do 9 visits in 7 days at a new campus. Having him has been an absolute home run. So Todd's a great man from a great basketball family. His dad played in the NBA and in Indiana, and he's just kind of a legacy basketball guy, and he wanted to stay. And I honestly didn't think any of the guys, I just assumed they were going to Michigan. So the fact that he wanted to stay so passionately, to me, I want to hire people that love this place. And then the rest of them are my friends. I either coached them or worked with them. I know what they're capable of. And all we've done is win. And I think you want to surround yourself with winners. We got this little saying behind the scenes: winners win. We just don't know what losing feels like. And those other 5 or 6 guys have really won with me at other places. So that's what that's about for me. People that I love that have won in the past.
Family over everything, a very important mantra.
Yeah.
I saw the Trinity International connection right when you got hired. People call me crazy. They were like, "Oh, they don't know each other," and I guess you guys did know each other. But the basketball circles at Trinity International, I thought at least they probably don't run too large. So I figured at least that some way or somehow they know the similar types of people, and I guess it worked out one way or another. But
Yeah.
I'm sure also once you had that staff, you were ready to get cracking on the roster. But you also had last year's team still here, and a majority of them were considering what their options were and whatnot. Did you make the decision to wait on them, or before bringing in guys yourself, or was that just how it kind of worked out with the timing
No,
of it?
I made that decision. I knew I was going to give them 2 weeks, and I knew that people might doubt my decision, and I didn't really even bring that in consideration. These are kids; they're kids that built something special here. We had workouts, and 9 of the guys were in workouts. Some days they'd go on a visit and come back. I wanted them to be in the weight room with our strength coach. I wanted them to be in a practice facility. A lot of these teams now they kick the guys off campus when they go in the portal. They take their thumbprint away or their card access away. I'm not going to treat people that way. And you're going to know by next Monday that we knew what we were doing when this roster rounds itself out. And in the next 4 days, we're going to get some recruits that'll surprise you even more. And I knew that I was going to love them that way. They don't even know me, and they may not even realize how kind our staff was being to them. But we made that choice because that's who we are as people. And if that was my son, that's how I want to be treated. So we gave him that 2 weeks, and now the 2 weeks is behind, and we're going to get our guys in here.
I'm a big believer in karma, Coach. It sounds like good things will come back around soon enough. That's very good to hear. But not everyone left yet, and specifically someone in particular, Trey Carroll, announced that he was coming back. Which right at the time, FAU fans they kind of rallied around Trey a little bit because everyone was putting out their announcements saying they were testing the portal, but there was Trey saying he was coming back. I want to get what's your relationship been like with Trey? Is he someone you view as a possible leader on this team? I personally have loved covering him over the past 2 years just because of the energy he brings.
Yeah, first off, he's got good vibes. Okay, so if you're going to live on the beach, you want to surround yourselves with people who have good vibes. Second off, I just think he's a sweetheart of a kid. And you get past the hair and all the other stuff he's got going on, like he's just a really good person. And some people, when they find their happy place, they don't want to leave it. And I think nowadays, everybody wants to get in the portal so fast. They're always discontent. I think part of the reason I don't do as much social media as others is just because I think it can lead to this anxiety in young basketball players, and they feel like they've got to always live in this need for affirmation. And Trey's not like that. Trey, I think, feels affirmed. He feels loved. He's happy here, and that's a really good quality. And kids that aren't insecure and know who they are and what they want are special people. So I'm thankful for Trey, and I don't think that it was anything more than he just knows exactly who he is as a person. And usually those kinds of people end up making it.
Wow, a lot to unpack there, but Trey, that's exactly what I would imagine a coach's perspective of Trey is because from a media perspective, he's just always happy. He just looks happy to be there. So I'm excited to see.
One thing I didn't do, I didn't hire one guy who doesn't smile. I don't need moody people around me. I'll be moody enough in practice. And if you can get players that smile, you're going to be all right in life, and that's a big thing, actually.
Be happy, right? You're playing Division I basketball in Boca Raton. What's better than that?
Yeah, if you're frowning around here, you've got bigger issues.
Talking transfer portal with FAU coach John Jakus here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Coach, so in terms of going after recruits, both high school and transfer portal, what's differentiated a little bit between Baylor and here?
There's some differential just because of the NIL structure, and we've got to learn our new dynamic here. Scott's recruiting to 20 years of experience and success, so there's obviously a pull there that's kind of easier to recruit to, if we're just being frank and honest, that he didn't have his first 5 years at Baylor, that was established and that we took advantage of. But if you adjust the money out of it and you adjust the sustainability of Scott's long-term career or Mark's long-term career, it's not different. It comes down to relationships. Right now it comes down to NIL also. It comes a little bit down to the analytics we use. We run ourselves like an NBA front office, so we're making some decisions through that structure. That's really important. But we've got one little rule, and that's if you call us and you don't call us a high major, we just hang up. And for a long time, people told Gonzaga they were not allowed to be as good as they really were. And if that's your attitude with us, we're just going to move on. So we're going to be in a real special spot. We signed 2 4-stars in the last 2 days, 2 former ESPN top 100 kids. That's never happened before here. And it's just our mantra. If you don't think we're high major, then we're going to move on. So we'll get to where Baylor and Gonzaga are, but not without a little conviction. And that's our main conviction right now, is that we're just not going to take no for an answer.
And things may be a little bit different, but you definitely haven't let that stop you. Like you said, AJ Stanton McCray from Stanford, Leland Walker, Eastern Kentucky, and today the big 4-star 6'6" forward from Louisville, Caleb Glenn. What was it about those 3 guys that made them the right fit? And are all 3 of them potential day one impact players?
Yeah, well, AJ's from here. He's from Delray. So, I mean, that was just a common interest. And they actually reached out to Coach Fee, because Coach Fee spent 8 years, at Nova and knows the area. So he had friends in common. And so that was a real positive for us. He's 6'5", 6'6". I don't know if you saw the Kansas game, but that was a block. That was not a foul. So we'll start there.
Clean.
And then the second thing is, when you're that size with a plus wingspan and you shoot over 40% from 3, like, that's just 3 real solid ticks for a guard. You're just not getting that. And then his steal rate, if you look it up analytically, is one of the best in the country. He played tennis growing up, and his reaction on the defensive end and his hands are actually elite. And then, when it comes to our point guard, Leland, he's a great point guard, averaged 16 points a game. I have 4 assists. I think we're going to get him up to 6 or 7 assists a game with our system. I think he fits the ball screen European ideal, and he's going to be an absolute home run here. We've had a great success taking the right transfer guards at Baylor. We got 3 guys in the NBA that transferred as a guard, so we know what we're doing with those guys. And he reminds me exactly of those guys. So we feel very comfortable, and he'll help run the team. He'll be an extension of the coach, but he's really going to function in that ball screen. And then he can throw a lob to a roller. So he's going to be a good time when we get out and run and score a bunch of points. And KG, to me, he's a top 50 kid who just ended up in the wrong situation for a year. And his high school coach also coached Jeremy Sohan. And when we did our background check, we feel like we're getting a steal. And there's this thing because of the portal and because of COVID where these kids are allowed to play till they're 24 years old right now. And sometimes freshmen get lost in the shuffle, or they just make the wrong first choice. But if they make the right next choice and you're a top 50 kid with his athleticism and talent, you might just find yourself with a really, really good basketball player. And that's what we think. Put him in the right situation with people that love him, he's going to take off. And so some of it's fit and research, some of it's what we need in a point guard, and some of it's just shooting and positional length. But it all came down to just how we build a team, and they're going to fit what we do.
A lot to be excited about in terms of those 3 guys, and more to come. But winding down here with FAU coach John Jakus. So the coaching staff is all but finished, except a few NBA guys, like you mentioned. The roster's building itself out. The next step in my at least from my point of view, would be the schedule. And I was the one who asked you about that back at your opening press conference. Now that you have your staff set up, do you know who's going to be handling scheduling for you directly? And you mentioned to me you did scheduling at Gonzaga, and you know what has to be done at a high. I was going to say mid-major. I don't do that. A high major.
Don't do that.
A high major program like FAU. Any more thoughts on how to you're going to structure that schedule?
Yeah, the guy who's doing scheduling has done it in the past, and he's the one in the NBA still. So we've got our layout for that. We'll do some private close scrimmages. I'm hoping to bring like a blue-gray game or something that we did at Gonzaga, so the fans can see everybody a little early in Midnight Madness. There'll be, hopefully an open scrimmage of some sort, and then we'll get into the season. We'll play high majors before Christmas to try to affect the net so we can be an at-large team, and then we'll play a really good Thanksgiving tournament with a bunch of high majors, so it improves our overall net. So when we get in the league, we're in a position to make an impact and at least be an at-large bid. So some of it's in place, not all of it yet, but we're working on it. And then you've got to add the element of these NIL tournaments and games that we've got to explore and talk through. So when we finish this roster by next Wednesday, I'll have a better answer on the scheduling. But for now, we've got our framework. We just haven't really gotten into it yet.
we'll be looking out for more scheduling news coming soon then. Last one, Coach, before I let you go back and take over the portal some more. A lot of new on this squad, players, coaches, and more inbound. How do you go about unifying this group? I know the coaches are your friends, so that'll be a little bit easier. But specifically the players, how do you go about unifying them so that you guys are playing your best brand of basketball come November 6th?
I mean, 10 years ago, maybe this was hard. You weren't allowed summer workouts. Now we get them 11 months a year. So you're going to get all of June, and then you're going to get all of July. We get 8 weeks together in the weight room and in the practice court. There's more than enough time to put your system in. But to me, 18 to 23-year-olds are still most affected by the way they view themselves and they view the team. And there's just a sports psychology about coming together and culture. And I know culture is a buzzword, and I don't really like using it, but I will say that I thought that the 2 of the 5 best cultures in college basketball were Gonzaga and Baylor. And one thing I know for sure is we know how to help young guys love each other and care about the program and not just themselves. And so we'll fight that fight over and over every day until we got guys that love FAU more than they love themselves. So we've got 4 or 5 months to get that done. Like I said, a decade ago, maybe that's difficult, but nowadays they make it really easy on you. And by the time we even finish the summer, we're going to be there. And we're good at bringing people together. And that's probably even more important than the X's and O's when it comes to young guys.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us tonight. A ton of great information. We'll be following along closely here over the next couple of weeks to see what more develops, but a ton to be excited about in Paradise, and we'll be watching closely. Thank you, Coach, and we'll take a brief break here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network, and we will be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt U.S. Kids presents
Tried to amend my carnivorous habits, made it nearly 70 days, losing weight without speed, eating sunflower seeds, drinking lots of carrot juice and soaking over rays. But at night I'd have these wonderful dreams, some kind of sensuous treat, not zucchini, fettuccine, bulgur wheat, but a big warm bun and a
Well, we may not have a cheeseburger in paradise right now, but a lot is cooking up in paradise. Robbie Lastella, Drew Shula here on the Bleacher Brothers show. Drew, thank you so much for sitting through that with me. I'm sorry, I'm sorry we didn't get to bring you in, but listening in, what any instant reactions to what Coach had to say?
Lots of them, and I think you covered everything I would have had to ask. So well done on your part. But my favorite quote of his, and I don't want to really butcher the words, our number one rule of recruiting: if you're not calling us a high major, get out. I love that. That is how Florida Atlantic University becomes a school such as Gonzaga, and I won't even say such as Gonzaga. I'll say that's how they become a school better than Gonzaga, because that is his goal right now. I love it. There's clearly no. He said it. We don't take no for an answer. So it's a very, very bright future in paradise, and I believe our best days are yet to come, Owls fans.
Yeah, we were pushing it close there. Coach, he's not watching probably, but huge shout out to Coach Jakus for coming on. He spent 25 minutes with us. We were only promised 15. And I don't think that's always a given when you do any of these interviews. Also, I mean, man, Jakus, how about that? I mean, before earlier today, he was on the University Press show. Now he's on our show. I told him I'm a big fan of karma. Doing 2 student journalist shows in the span of a day while you're also traversing through the portal. Karma, man. Coach Jakus, you're racking up this good karma. If I'm in control of karma, I'm giving it all to Coach Jakus. That's really crazy to me.
It's recruiting season. He could use it as much good karma as possible. Nothing's guaranteed in the transfer portal, but man, it's working really well so far. He said it. It's never been done at FAU before, bringing in 2 4-star transfers back to back in the same transfer portal class. Excellent work, and we are far, far, far from done.
Yeah, I mean, as we saw on Twitter today, Baba Miller visiting this weekend. That's a guy who could come over and take over the big man position almost instantly. If he's not 7'1", so you lose 2 inches with Vlad, but he's nothing against Vlad. But Baba's a more versatile player. He's Vlad. I don't want to say stiff because Vlad is not stiff, but the way Vlad comes off more stiff than Baba Miller does. And so I think it'd be interesting to see how he works in the post compared to watching Vlad for the past 3 years just tear up the post. I mean, it's 2 different types of games, really. But there's so much that's still developing with FAU basketball right now. I mean, as we saw, Vlad Golden was in the gym putting up shots either yesterday or today. John L. Davis is still mulling the NBA. Drew, let me put a hypothetical in your head here. So imagine this. Jakus destroys the portal. He's already destroying it. He's ravaging it, taking 4 stars and 3 stars left and right. And he admitted he waited until whenever Sunday when Saturday Nick Boyd and Elijah Martin announced their things. As soon as they announced, I'm assuming, I didn't exactly ask this, but I'm assuming that's the moment when John Jakus was like, okay, light bulb, let's go get these recruits. So imagine now Jakus tears up the portal. And then a month or 2 go by, and Michigan's roster's filled up. So Drew, what happens in 2 months from now, 3 months from now, whenever the NBA draft is? FAU's roster is looking better than it has ever been, on paper at least. And John L. Davis and Vlad Golden both go to the NBA. How much does that take an FAU fan base that was 2 weeks ago ready to jump off the inlet, the Boca Raton Inlet, into the ravine there. I think that changes the whole dynamic of this offseason and really turns it into something that you can write a movie about in 5-10 years down the line. I don't know. What do you think, Drew?
Well, you said it. Forget 2 weeks ago, though. How about 2 days ago, before we got AJ Staten McRae? It was doomsday at FAU for a long time. The morale was low around the fan base. Fan bases on Twitter saying you have more coaches than players. But man, you imagine it's huge. It would be huge if Vlad and John L went to the NBA rather than It's like these coaches have even said it before. The players that transfer away to higher majors, I guess you could say. They just took our hard work and our development, and they took our player. It stinks. They'll forever be FAU Owls, Vlad, John L. We built them to be who they are. Obviously, they were talented, but it was our hard work that helped them get there. It would be huge for the fan base if they went to the NBA. That's something we should all be rooting for, rather than them transferring to other schools.
Going back to the Jakus interview, what he said about, I almost messed up and called FAU a mid-major, but what is the term that non-Power 5? I forgot the term that Dusty used, but it was also a similar term that brings positiveness to the ranks of FAU. And in the world, FAU cannot get looped in with the little guys, and so. Yeah, getting 2 players in the NBA, that pushes you away from the little guys, especially in the same offseason, right? And then so now FAU can go, and whenever conference realignment or whatever comes along, they can say, yes, we had our Final Four, we had our NCAA tournament run. That should give us a boost to go to the next conference. But also, we put 2 players in the NBA more than all of the AAC in the past year. I don't know. David Jones, he may get drafted. Javon Quinterly may get drafted, and then my points a burst bubble. But who knows? Who knows? Still a lot of time to come. NBA draft will be fun. There's a lot less spots than the NFL draft, though, Drew. So could you see a world where John L or Vlad take a 2-way contract instead of coming back to the NCAA? A couple years ago, I would have said absolutely 100%. Now I'm sitting here and I'm like, a 2-way contract instead of NIL, maybe not. But that's what I'm hearing, is that John L is considering a 2-way contract if he doesn't get drafted.
Well, I think their aspirations are with the NBA. I think that's apparent for both of them, even if it's a little far-fetched after, the NBA is a different beast than college basketball. It's possible they take it. I think financially it would probably be smarter for them to take that NIL from somewhere else. Like if John L is really able to go play for the University of Kentucky, it's really hard to turn that down in the NIL he would get from there to go on a 2-way contract. I don't know, but I'm rooting for them to go to the NBA. That's for sure. I will not be rooting for John L to go to Kentucky. Just FAU fan, FAU student. I want them to go to the NBA. I want our first NBA player. So really hope they go to the NBA, but I think there's probably more money in college basketball for them.
And we really could have made this into because I didn't even get a chance to ask Jakus specifically. What does he think? Are these guys going to the NBA? Like, I would have loved to hear what he had to say about it. So we'll have to bring Coach Jakus back on after Portal Combat season is over, because there's just so many things that I need to know, like his international recruiting. The first Elijah Elliott and Lorenzo Castan, they were quick to say, bye, I'm out of here. Same with Ty Robinson. Like they were dusty recruits, and as soon as they left quickly. Montas Koshanas, he's still here. And I don't think he's going anywhere. Our buddies over at FAU's Owl's Nest tweeted out 3 thumbs up on top of their old recruit post today. So nothing said either way other than that, but I'll read into that 100%. Give me Montas Koshanas in paradise. And I just wonder how much, if Miro Little comes here, Baba Miller, he's Spanish native. So that would be 3 international recruits right there. I am just wondering how big of an international recruiter is Jakus going to be while at FAU?
I don't think all the work he's done overseas when he was, what was it, Lithuania or
Yeah.
Lithuania, when he was coaching before he had to come back to the United States. The international work he did at Gonzaga, at Baylor, that is going absolutely nowhere. You see our buddy Kevin up on the screen, Miro Little with the eye emoji. You know, as far as I know, we are the top destination, the most likely school that he is going to land at. And he was a player at Finland. So, and then Montas is the guy that stayed out of the 4 guys in the recruiting class. It's clear that there's a certain type that Coach Jakus wants, and all of them definitely want to come to our high major school.
Man, so it after having this conversation, it's kind of like, I can recollect on everything. It was like a few weeks ago, FAU was so worried about Memphis, and then I was on the show a few nights ago saying, oh, Memphis is going to get Jaden Quaintance. Like, whoa, that's a $2 million player right there. Quaintance today postponed his visit to Memphis. Now FAU's rolling in the portal. It's like, man, I'm sitting here with the same level of excitement about this team that I was a year ago when they were returning everybody. And I think that's part of the new aspect of it. I'm always excited about new things. New is good. And I think it took a little bit of time for the majority of FAU fans to realize, okay, new is good. Because sometimes, new is scary. New is very scary. Like, but at the end of the day now, new is here and new is working. And I'm just wondering, is FAU going to be another top contender? Is the AAC going to be Memphis, FAU, UAB, top 3, and then the rest?
It's so early to tell. Last year, we kind of knew, like, hey, FAU, maybe North Texas is good. Memphis will probably be good. And who knows what else? I kind of get a same vibe this year. Obviously, I know we have the right coach at helm. We have the right coaching staff. We have the money. Clearly, we aren't bringing in guys if we are broke. That's for sure. So NIL dollars are fine here. And we got players, man. AJ Staten McCray was a great player for Stanford, playing in March Madness. Leland Walker, he's a player, man. Coach Jakus wasn't shy to talk about his 16 points per game, and he said he's going to get those. He's going to get those assist numbers up in the new system that he's going to play in. And then Caleb Glenn, I love that he said he was a top 50 guy in his recruiting class that ended up at the wrong spot, because I think that goes too unnoticed nowadays. Where he was just a top 50 player in his class. He just happened to go to the school.
Kenny Payne.
Kenny Payne. No basketball. A school that just couldn't win a game. So we get Caleb Glenn. We are on the fortunate side of getting Caleb Glenn. It's exciting. Our expectations should be high. First year head coach. It's interesting, but he's up for he's ready. He's had his opportunity to be a head coach. He turned it down. He's ready for this gig. So I think our expectations should be high. It should be competing for a conference championship. That's just my opinion.
And a big part of competing that conference championship is going to be Trey Carroll. I loved his thoughts about Trey Carroll. I can't say it any better way than he brings good vibes. I tried to say it a different way. I tried to say he brings good energy, but it's vibes. Trey is all vibes.
Yep.
My man is sitting there dancing and doing his Millie Rock on the sideline. Like, I don't think it's hard to beat that, right? Smiles, like happiness is such an underrated thing in life, let alone basketball. And Trey is not somebody that's only sitting there smiling and clapping, right? He's an offensive weapon. And if Jakus, put him with Isaiah Austin, have Isaiah Austin train him in the block, work on his defense. there is no doubt in my mind Trey Carroll can contend to start as a 4 on this team. Caleb Glenn may give him a run for his money depending on who else comes in. But at the moment, hypothetically, you put the 2 guards we got in, Leland Walker, Stanton McRae at the 1 and 2. You put Caleb at the 3. You put Trey at the 4. And then the stars align, the karma adds up. We get Baba Miller, you put him at the 5. And then all of a sudden, that's a starting lineup right there. Jaquel, 6-man off the bench. I am looking for – that was another thing I didn't get to ask Coach Jakus about. Only so much time. We ran over as it is, but I wanted to ask about Jaquel and Devin because they both are here too, and that's telling me something, right? Like, those are 2 guys that could have easily went and portaled and found a better opportunity. I mean, Devin specifically, his dad, David, was in the NBA, so I know those connections are never-ending. And they're both still here, and they're both still competing. So I wonder. I'm very interested to see how Devin and Jaquel shape out on this roster alongside Trey. How all 3 of them will really make an impact next year. Maybe Leo Beath and Jack Johnson. I don't know. They're both still walk-ons, but they're still here too. So maybe Jake has got a plan for them.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, too, Devin Vanterpool, his father, David Vanterpool, went to St. Bonaventure, who we played last year, and that was Devin's other offer. So I'm sure he would have had his opportunity to play there if he wanted to, but chose to stay in Paradise because we have a man that is on a mission at the helm. And yeah, I'm real excited about Trey. I think this new system we're about to bring in is more of a natural fit for him. It's really hard to come in for Vlad Golden, and you're not able to replicate that when, what is he, 6'9"? It's just not – he's not the same player as Vlad was, but he was playing the 5 because, our lack of bigs, where we'd have G, we'd have Trey, and we'd have Vlad. But I think I'm really excited for him in this offense. I think we will have a role for him because I don't think he would have been so excited to come back if we didn't, but he decided to. And so that's going to be really exciting. I think he could be a breakout player for the Owls because, we're talking about transfers right now, but there's always that one player that we're all familiar with who's going to break out, and I think it's very possible that Trey Carroll could be that guy.
Yeah, man, Trey Carroll. I'm hoping everything goes well with his knee, his arm recovery. His knee's fine, no knee injury for Trey. His arm recovery, I'm sure that's going smoothly, and we'll get him back. Get him back this season and hopefully in a bigger role. So that'll be fun to watch. Another thing, as we were wrapping up with Jakus that he was talking about was his schedule. Scheduling is the most underrated or most forgotten about aspect of coaching to me because he could do one of 2 things, right? He could go out there and schedule cupcake after cupcake in the regular season. And, looking at these guys that we're bringing in, or non-conference, not regular season, looking at these guys that we're bringing in, they're all guys that would run through a D2 team, or at least should, based off of their talent. And so, they do that. And then March comes around, and all of a sudden, everyone's like, hey, where's FAU? Where's FAU? Well, they didn't play anybody in the non-conference schedule. If they win their conference, absolutely they're in. But if not, no chance. And so I think Jake has obviously realized that. And I think that the schedule will work itself out. But I'm interested to see how many tournaments FAU finds its way into.
Well, I'm excited. He talked about we'll be in that Thanksgiving tournament with a bunch of high majors. And then, he pretty much hinted at it will most definitely not be a cupcake this spring. I mean, not this spring, next year. Because, the goal is to use the net to our advantage and get that all at-large bid like we did this year. Because we went through a gauntlet this year, too. So I'm real excited. We'll get in some real we'll play some real schools that are going to be tough, and hopefully get that at-large bid if we're good enough and we win those basketball games.
Hey, Drew and Robbie, I got a quick question for you guys because I was listening to the interview. By the way, good interview, Coach. Great energy. I will say that much. How do you guys feel knowing what you had? And it's not bringing down a former coach or anything else like that, but compared to what you guys had to what it seems like what Coach Jakus is bringing, he is very focused. Just like Robbie, when you brought up that he took away his Twitter because he's determined to see within that first month what he has, what he needs to work with. How do you guys feel compared to your former coach to now your current coach?
It's a very good question. Drew, you want to go first? You want me to take it?
Yeah, sure. I can go first. It's a great question. It's different, man. The emotions when Coach May left, it was like, oh my gosh, that this is doomsday. Worst thing ever. And me and Robbie are talking one night, and we're like, man, what are we gonna do? We might hire in house, we might not, and we're kind of coming to a consensus. We're like, we kind of hope we hire from not in house. The goal, bringing someone different. It's no guarantees if you bring someone in house that everyone stays, and everyone left. And then we bring in Coach Jakus, who has that pedigree at Gonzaga, at Baylor, and there aren't two better coaches to learn from him. So I was just excited, man. Like the general FAU fan base might not understand yet. They might be like, "Oh, we lost Dusty May. There's no hope. We won't show up to games." But FAU fans, do your research. Look at what we got with Coach Jakus, and we got a really, really, really qualified coach for not having any head coaching experience. He's more than qualified for the job, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, and I think something that's very positive is that in a personality sense, I think in like a basketball game planning type of sense, I think he's very similar to Dusty in the sense that he's all business when it comes to basketball. I haven't seen him in practice yet, but when Dusty had his practices, it was like a drill sergeant in there, not always needing to yell, but he commanded the presence over the players, and you could tell it was his practice. And I think the same thing is going to be the fact for Jakus. I think he's a guy who's a quiet leader, but when he's leading, people are going to listen. And I think that both of them are exceptional leaders of men, and that they can overcome some turmoil if need be with just their words. They're both seem like really good speakers. That was my first time really interacting with Jakus more than a couple of words back and forth. So, but based off that interview, my man is an excellent speaker.
No, he is. And that's the one thing I know you guys are coming up in a break here too, and without trying to interrupt too much of your program, but the takeaway, like you just said just now, Robbie, was that some coaches, right, when we grew up, it's different. I'm only 3 years older than you guys. If the viewers want to believe that, they can. But when it comes to when we were coming up, it was different because the coach, when they yelled, it wasn't because they were trying to get under your skin. What they were trying to do is build up a better defense for you to figure out like what's going to be good for you. And so like you said, it seems like, and that's what it seemed like to us with Coach Jakus, that that's not the route that he's going. It's more of that, listen, I'm the coach without saying it, but I'm the coach. You're here to play, you're here to win, or you don't need to be here at all. And that's the one thing I did like the way he came across, because it wasn't like, you can tell it wasn't one of those things where he wanted to be like a jerk or seem like I'm better than the former coach. None of that stuff. It's just his mentality is you're coming to play at FAU, plan to win. You're not coming here just to play. It's that winning mentality. And that's really what I liked about the entire interview. The other thing, kudos to you, Robbie, as well, when you brought up the most important thing that you can ever do to anybody, I don't care who they are, broadcast, whomever else, that family first mentality resonates a lot more, because that's what they want to hear, because they got a family first before anything else. Unless, you're single, you just came from college, it's a whole different story, but you still have a family. But that was a good key point, because he admired that a lot, and that will carry with him over for, when the season starts. So good job with the interview altogether. That was really sharp by you guys.
Well, thank you, Angel. I appreciate it. Yeah, I can't steal all the credit. Our guy AJ, he's talked to me a lot about how he does the interviews and the family first aspect. It works. It's not about trying to get it to work. It's just being a nice person and getting to know the person you're talking to. So thank you. But I did learn a lot about how to do that from AJ, who's a very good interview host. We're lucky to fill in for him tonight. Happy birthday to his daughter. We are going to take a quick break, though, briefly on the Bleacher Brothers show. We will be right back. Me and Drew talk some NFL draft rumors from 7:30. At 7:30, Christian Proscia joins us from Detroit. We will be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
It is a Paradise-themed episode here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network, 102.9 The Game. Robbie Lastella, Drew Shula back here with you. Top of the hour here, 7 p.m., 55 minutes until draft time. Want to get you our top fan rivalry sports update from the man himself, Steven Luker. Bring him in here to give you guys the update of what's
going. All right, who is ready to hear some scores and everything? We are going to get you guys started. We have in a couple minutes, and tip-off is about to expect to start soon with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Orlando Magic. That's going to be tipping off shortly at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That ball should be tipping off any second now. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the Knicks and the 76ers will be tipping off. The nightcap game will have the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. We have a couple baseball finals in the books today. We had the Milwaukee Brewers beat the Pirates 7-5. The Minnesota Twins beat the White Sox 6-3. The White Sox aren't looking pretty this season. The Cleveland Guardians have beat the Boston Red Sox 6-4 today. The Philadelphia Phillies shut out the Cincinnati Reds 5-0. And also we have And in the top of the 6th inning, the Kansas City Royals are up 2-1 against the Toronto Blue Jays. If you're wondering where these score updates are coming from, they're on the Bleacher Brothers website. On the top page, there's a ticker that gives you all the scores and updates and any breaking news that comes in. A final in the Chicago, the Cubs beat the Astros 3-1. The Seattle Mariners beat the Texas Rangers 4-3. The Rockies come back and beat the Padres 10-9. The Dodgers have swept the Washington Nationals 2-1. Coming up shortly, first pitch in New York, the Yankees will face the Oakland Athletics. And in the NHL coming up, we will have the puck drop in Tampa Bay with the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then shortly after that will be the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Islanders. And that is your guys' sports update.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for that. We'll bring Stephen back at the top of the 8 o'clock hour before the NFL draft to get some more updates for you guys. But speaking of that NFL draft, it's almost Drew's favorite time of the year, 53 minutes and counting. Things are heating up. The debate of the day is still Jaden Daniels versus Drake May. I don't think there is an answer to that debate. And joining us now via the NFL draft, Christian Proscia live from Detroit. He looks terrified. Is everything okay, Christian?
Yo, can y'all hear me?
We can hear you. Yes. Can you hear us?
Yo, the service in here is awful.
All right. I think, Steven, we're going to have to let Christian go for a second while he figures out the internet situation. But we'll bring Christian back in just a few moments, hopefully. But as I was saying to Drew, the debate is still Jaden Daniels versus Drake May. I don't necessarily have anything that changed my mind from last night. I still believe Jaden Daniels should go to Washington at 2 and Drake May to the Patriots at 3. Really, though, I think what I think the Patriots should do is not draft Drake May at all. I think they go outside. I think they should go outside of the box. And for whatever reason, if the Redskins, or I'm going to get canceled. I said the Indians the other night, and I'm saying the Redskins. The Commanders, if the Commanders don't draft Jaden Daniels, I think that's an easy pick for the Pats. If not, go get J.J. McCarthy, right? I mean, your last two quarterbacks for the past 2 decades have been Tom Brady, Mac Jones, and Cam Newton, who at that point in time, I don't believe he was nearly 25% of Cam Newton. So, man, I just don't know if there's another opportunity for the Patriots to get a game changer like potentially J.J. McCarthy or Jaden Daniels, even possibly Michael Penix. But I just don't know if I could argue drafting him over Jaden Daniels in that situation if it came down to it. Drew, any thoughts?
I might have to disagree slightly. I am a Drake May fan. You know from the Drew Shula big board. I think the Pats should draft Drake May. The only issue I have with the Pats, and I feel like this has been a problem, a recurring issue for them the past 5 years. Man, they don't do a very good job helping their quarterbacks out. Since the last year of Brady, no weapons. The protection's gotten worse. The play calling's gotten worse. It's a revolving door on that end. They've always been so good because they've had Bill Belichick and Gerard Mayo and all these guys, defensive-minded geniuses that have had top 10 defenses year in, year out. Man, I really find it hard to see like an avenue where Jaden Daniels figures it out in New England. It's not a good situation at all. I think Drake May might have a little bit better of a chance of kind of figuring it out because I think he's a little bit better. Man, tough landing spot for either quarterback. That's my opinion on that.
And keeping an eye on the quarterbacks, staying with J.J. McCarthy. Another rumor that I saw today, Drew, was not necessarily for JJ McCarthy. My apologies. Were the Raiders trading up from pick 13 to grab Jaden Daniels, pair him up with Antonio Pierce, his old high school coach. I don't know if the Raiders have the capital to do that, but if they can somehow do it, it's always good to put a quarterback in a situation that they want to be in, and it seems like that's when he really does want to be in, is Oakland.
They'd need to get real lucky, is my opinion, because I don't see an avenue where the Raiders can trade up to 2. That'd be a very, very, very steep asking price. I brought it up yesterday. The only time I could really think of that happening within recent memory was when the Niners went up to the Finns pick from 12 to 3, and they gave up 2 future first rounders and a future second. And it just so happens that 13 to 2 is even more than 12 to 3. So, and I don't really think they'll have the ammunition to do that. But if they get lucky enough in their eyes, where maybe Drake May goes 2, maybe someone trades up for JJ, maybe Jaden Daniels gets a little more to that 4, 5, 6 range, that's where they can make a play. And I think, a few future first round picks will get it done.
Yeah, that's always the risk, though, right? You trade 3 future first round picks, and then let's say Jaden Daniels, for what, I'm not saying that I don't think he's going to work out, but let's say he doesn't work out. Then what do? You're left with Jaden Daniels and no picks. So it's like at that point, it's always a gamble to trade your future picks, and you really have to. For me personally, if I was the GM in that scenario, I'm only trading multiple future first-round picks for the number 1 overall pick, and that's guaranteeing me a generational talent like Caleb Williams. Multiple first-round picks for Caleb Williams, it's much more reasonable to look at him and say, he's not flaming out. Everybody under the sun is saying he's the next Patrick Mahomes or whatever.
Yep.
A lot more easier to say Jaden Daniels is going to flame out, and if you trade up, not only that would just create so many storylines because Jaden Daniels would have never left Arizona State if Antonio Pierce was not removed as the head coach. They got into that whole coaching debacle over there, but I love it. I love Antonio Pierce rebuilding his coaching career in the pros. Look at that, and if he can get his quarterback back from college, that'd be a very good pairing. But another pairing I like, I'm not advocating for the Giants to draft a quarterback at 6. But if the Giants for some reason, I'm not out here scouting, so I don't see what the Giants scouts may see. But another rumor I saw today, Drew, was that the Giants may be interested in taking Michael Penix at 6. We talked about last night, Malik Neighbors being my choice, still is my choice. I still believe that Danny needs another year, and if to not give him another year is a disservice to him and also yourselves because you're wasting money. And then, he's never really had a true number 1 on the outside. Debating if you want to call Kenny Golladay a number 1, don't. But anyway, it's like give him Malik Neighbors for a year, see if he can stretch the field, put up a consistent offense. The East this year, it's the Cowboys and the Eagles, 1 and 2 always. But if the Giants can make some noise, and Malik Neighbors is putting up numbers as a rookie, then you did the right thing. And then all of a sudden, your money isn't wasted. Joe Shane isn't on the hot seat for signing him to this big old deal. But if you draft Penix at 6, all of a sudden, Joe Shane's sheet is en fuego, and not because it's a bad pick, but now you got two franchise quarterbacks on your lap. What are you doing with the one you just paid a boatload of money in, Daniel Jones? And what are you doing with Michael Penix, who was arguably one of the best college quarterbacks this year? A lot of people say that he does need some more development. Are you going to sit him behind Daniel Jones? Then what? So I'm still very confused about the prospects of the Giants drafting a quarterback at 6, let alone at all in the draft, besides the later rounds. Drew, do you think the Giants really are considering a quarterback, and would you be a fan of it?
I did not hear that rumor at all this whole day, but it's not far-fetched. I could definitely see it happening in the next hour and a half. Joe Shane said, we like Daniel Jones, yada, yada, yada. could be all smokescreen. You know, they want Michael Penix. If they do want Michael Penix, then you know he'll be in their lap. No one's really trading up for him, as far as my knowledge. But I feel the pick's got to be Malik Neighbors if he's there. Daniel Jones, has he ever had a real NFL wide receiver?
No, he's been throwing to Isaiah Hodgins.
Yeah, come on. Let's get him a dude with some real 4.3 speed. Let's get him a dude that he could throw the ball up to and he'll make a play on the ball. Let's get him a dude who could really separate, who can make guys miss after the catch. Let's give him a real wide receiver and see what he could do, man. You paid Daniel Jones and you really don't know what he could do? Like, come on. It's like, what is it, year 5 now?
Yeah. So it's like you're running out of time.
That's an issue on the Giants. That's an issue on the Giants front office's part. They've really felt like, you know, like I get it. They draft Evan Neal. I didn't hate the pick at the time because, you know, probably an elite tackle prospect is what he was considered at the time. But, you know, you're drafting Kayvon Thibodeau. You're drafting in years past. Kadarius Toney, who they missed on. They need to really invest in a serious wide receiver. They've invested in Kenny Golladay, who they missed on. They drafted used a second rounder on Wan'Dale Robinson. Everyone can have their opinions on him. You know, maybe he's a good player. Well, he's not an NFL wide receiver 1, and he never was going to be with that pick. So they've really done a poor job. What have they gone 0 for 3? That's my opinion. So they haven't really done Daniel Jones a service. If they are planning on paying him that much money, which they already did. So I think they failed him.
Ideally for the Giants, right, you put Neighbors on the outside with Jalen Hyatt opposite him, and then you throw Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot. That's a young wide receiver core that's forgetting about Darius Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins. And I'm not saying cut them, but that's the future right there. Wan'Dale in the slot, Hyatt and Neighbors on the outside. I'm very high on Jalen Hyatt. I was high on him last year. He was a Blazer coming out of Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And the Giants, they did a good job utilizing him the best they can this past season at least, with deep routes and popping, pick and pops and stuff like that. But he's not a proven number 1 either. So he needs if they don't draft a wide receiver this year, they're going to be treating him like a number 1, number 2, maybe alongside Isaiah Hodgins. So I still really the wide receiver need, the playmaker need is glaring. I mean, they went out and got Darren Waller, who did I don't know what last year. You put I like Daniel Bellinger more than Darren Waller because he's cheaper. I mean, you know, call me broke, whatever, but Daniel Bellinger is a lot more inexpensive and probably not as good of a pass catcher as Darren Waller, but he's a better blocker. And for half the price, I'll take his pass catching abilities and we can work on them.
Yeah, just not being efficient with their money, which is ironic because that's what, you know, the boys in Buffalo when Joe Shane was there were kind of known for. They were able to be efficient. My fault on that, but they haven't really done that in New York. You know, obviously this is before Joe Shane got into town, but I keep bringing it up. I don't want to beat a dead horse, Robbie, but Kenny Golladay, man, that's not being efficient with your money. Kind of like when the Jets took Corey Davis. That's not being efficient with your money. You need, if you're going to pay that money, they better be a really, really good receiver that's going to help your quarterback out. And Darren Waller, you know, he's a good player, but like, is he the guy you want to invest all your money in? I don't. Me personally, I don't.
It's a fair point. Talking NFL draft with Drew Shula here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Drew, you mentioned Evan Neal, top tackle in this draft, Joe Alt. A lot of mocks have him going to the Titans. That, in my opinion, the Titans having a high pick and drafting an offensive lineman, and I'm not discrediting it, but it may be the most boring most boring pick of all time, just because. Who do the Titans have now? Derrick Henry's gone. The receiving core, Treylon Burks. It's like DeAndre Hopkins, maybe. He's like washed up at this point. Like, I don't know. Joe Alt, trust me, he'll probably lock down that tackle position. And the Titans were abysmal in pass protection last year. I think they were last in the league in sacks, or first, whichever way you want to call it. They were They gave up the most sacks in the NFL. So Joe Alt will help that, but he can block and block and block and block. But when it gets to who are they going to pass to, Drew? Is there anyone in the Titans playmaker department that scares you enough that they can go out and get this offensive tackle and still be okay?
Not really. DeAndre Hopkins is in town. They got Traylon Burks, so they drafted. But after that, they drafted Tyjae Spears, the running back from Tulane, who was a rookie last year. But no, I mean, it's not a disgusting group of weaponry for Will Levis to throw to. It's not a scary group, but I will say this: it may be a little boring, but man, Joe Alt, he's a damn good offensive tackle, and he's going to be a damn good offensive tackle for the Tennessee Titans. They cut Andre Dillard this offseason, and it may be boring, but hey, now they need 2 offensive tackles actually. So maybe they double dip and they take a second offensive tackle in the second round. But I think Joe Alt is the right pick. Maybe there's some Romo Dunze believers, but I don't know. I think Joe Alt's the right pick.
It's just the fact that it's the Titans and the Titans drafting an offensive lineman, and I'm just like, we can do better than that. But hey, you know what? Will Levis and his Mayo, that was a big hit. So maybe maybe an offensive lineman will be a hit too. Nothing more bland than Mayo. So if they like Mayo in Tennessee, I have a feeling they'll love an offensive tackle in the first round.
Yeah.
Another rumor that I saw today, Drew, Xavier Worthy, we talked about him yesterday. He's rising up the big boards, at least to some people, potentially all the way up to that number 4 spot. It's tough. Is he better than his own counterpart, A.D. Mitchell? I don't know. They're both really talented, but that 40 time, in years past, a 40 time like that, it pretty much guarantees you to be a 1 or 2 in terms of receiver drafting. Look at John Ross a couple years ago. But, there's some other things about Xavier Worthy. I mean, maybe he's not – I'm really high on just about every part of his game. So I'm not the one to give negatives. Drew, do you think Xavier Worthy is the 4th best wide – well, we know he's not. He's not number 4 on your big board. But does he have number 4 potential, at least in your eyes?
Oh, yeah. His potential is limitless. He's number 6 on my board, but, man, he's really close to 4. I have A.D. Mitchell at a 74.5 grade. I have Xavier Worthy at a 74 grade. So, it's that's really the margin of difference between the two. If you want me to talk a little bit about maybe some things that are holding him back a little bit?
Yeah, why is Xavier not with that 40 time that blew everybody away? Why is he not number 2 next to Marvin Harrison?
Well, so you talked about it. It usually guarantees you the number 1, number 2 receiver. Look at John Ross. Even recently, look at Henry Ruggs, who was drafted first over Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb, when that was most definitely not the consensus, but the Raiders indeed raided. So what happened was, Xavier Worthy. Well, let's just start. He's really small, really, really thin. He's 165 pounds, maybe soaking wet, compared to, you talk about a guy like Marvin Harrison, who's over 200, Malik Neighbors over 200, Romo. They're all up there. They have NFL bodies that could withstand hits. A guy, as much as I love him, Jalen Waddle, I see him multiple times a year. He's getting hit hard, and he's not getting up for the next play. So that is real. Devontae Smith kind of had the same weight profile that Xavier Worthy did in college. Then we move on. His sophomore year, really inconsistent hands. It did improve a lot this past year, so you definitely have to give the guy credit. But his hands were not as consistent as he would have liked to be in Sark's offense. And then just he's not the best beating press. Where a guy like Marvin Harrison will beat press like a snap of the fingers, and he's gone. You don't want to press Marvin Harrison. Xavier Worthy could definitely get bodied a little bit more. But that's why maybe his goal should probably be to go to a team like Miami, who has like a Mike McDaniel, who's kind of able to scheme these guys up, use his motion to kind of get him these free releases and just get him some easier looks. in an offense where he wouldn't really have to face press as much. So those are some things that I think really Xavier Worthy probably is holding him back from being that number 4 receiver, number 3 receiver, number 2 receiver.
The speed guys, they don't always work out. I mean, John Ross flamed out. He was playing for the Giants, and when they had Mike Glennon at quarterback, doesn't get much worse than that. Henry Ruggs was on his way to it looked like a productive career before he threw that in the garbage can. And so, it's always a toss-up with these speed guys. Do they have the other things outside of the speed that makes him an NFL-type player? It seems like Xavier has some of them, but there's other aspects of his game that he needs to work on, like you mentioned. So it'll be interesting to see if he goes in a scenario where, he doesn't have to be the number 1 guy right away, and he can learn behind, like a Dolphins, go learn behind Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and then all of a sudden you learn from them for a year 2, you're breaking on the scene like Devontae Smith. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up, but yeah, I'm a big Xavier Worthy fan, and I just saw that one of these mock draft people had him slide up to wide receiver 4. So thought that was interesting. But winding down here with Drew because he's got to go celebrate this NFL draft night. We're gonna head to a commercial break shortly. But Drew, before we get out of here, we talked about yesterday the Chargers. Do we think the Chargers are going to trade up at all? Do we think they stand pat? Do we think they trade down? Who is this team? What team in your mind is most likely going to trade up and get a quarterback?
The Vikings. They traded for more ammunition to move up. When we're talking about the Chargers, I think either 2 scenarios are possible. They could trade down with the Vikings, and the Vikings would be able to probably secure J.J. McCarthy. But another opportunity for them is just stay put and take who they like a lot. And the rumor mill just recently today is actually saying one of their guys, they really like J.C. Latham. So that is a guy to look out for tonight in just about probably that picks on in about an hour, 15 minutes. That's a pick to look out for, the J.C. Latham to the Chargers, maybe even as early as pick 5 is something.
The Chargers offense definitely was solid last year. The defense just needs some pieces. So I can see Harbaugh doing that. He's created all this smoke about J.J. McCarthy just maybe to distract people from the fact that, I'm not interested in J.C. Latham. Little do they know. So interesting perspective for sure. We'll see how this all shakes out. No trades yet, which is a bit surprising, but we'll see if anything shakes out in the next 30 minutes or during the draft. We are hanging out with you guys until 9 p.m. tonight. Right now, though, we're going to head to a commercial break. Drew Shula, Robbie Lastella here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Joining us after the break, Christian Proscia via the phone. Drew, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Right now.
I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening on 102.9 The Game, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you find your source of audio. Robbie Lastella here, winding down our coverage for you tonight. About an hour and a half left of our draft night coverage. We're still pre-draft, though, and joining us now via the phone because the internet, as always for Christian, is a bit of an issue. Christian, we are live on the air. How is Detroit?
What's up, everybody? How's it going? How's everybody doing?
Well,
Hear me good?
everybody is just me, unfortunately, Christian. Drew has left us for the night to go get ready for the NFL draft. So just me and you chopping it up tonight here for the next 30 minutes or so.
Great. But yeah, no, Robbie, you're absolutely right. If there's three things that are guaranteed in life, it's death, taxes, and that I'm going this way, and that I have terrible Wi-Fi.
Terrible Wi-Fi is not going to stop Christian, though, joining us via the phone. Christian, so you've been in Detroit now for a couple of hours. You just got to the NFL draft an hour or two ago. Before you went to the NFL draft, though, you were out on the street talking to the fans. I'm assuming it's a majority Lions fan base out there in Detroit for this draft, or if not, what other fan base has been repping strong?
There's actually been a big Lions turnout, obviously, because we're in their city. But I've been seeing a lot of the North and Midwest teams, like Philly's well represented. The Bears are represented well, but there's a lot of South Florida too. I've been seeing a lot of Dolphins. I've been seeing a lot of Jaguars. I've been seeing not a lot of Tampa though. That's probably because Tampa doesn't really have a fan base. But no, like there's been a good turnout, and actually the biggest fan of all made an appearance today with the biggest Texans fan with Sketch walking the halls of the draft today.
Really? You saw a Sketch. Did you say, "What's up, brother"?
I did say "What's up, brother" as we were passing because I was trying to find somewhere with a decent service. I'm walking through, and I see somebody in a Texans jersey. I'm like, there's only one person that could be. So I go up, and it's him, and I hit him with the "What's up, brother," and he hit me with the "What's up, brother," and we I'm like, all right, I need a picture. So we got the picture. There is evidence, and yeah, no, great dude. Real chill dude. I was able to talk to him for like 5 minutes. Yeah, great dude.
And so this is now your second NFL draft. First one you were in the photography pit, but now you're in the media room. What's the atmosphere like? What are all the media people doing in the time leading up to the draft right now? Is everyone just kind of on their computers getting their articles ready, or what's to do right now if you're a media member waiting for the NFL draft to start?
Yeah, no, a lot of people have been just typing away, and photographers are editing pre-draft photos, like fan interactions. I did that when I got in with the little fan content that I shot, and then basically I've just been trying to get ahead with articles because I know that it's going to go quick, and that the world of sports journalism that we live in is if you're not one of the first couple to get something out, it's irrelevant. So I'm giving myself a little wiggle room. I've already got the first 4 picks articles done.
Really?
And yes, sir. From Caleb Williams to the Bears, all the way. I'm projecting Marvin Harrison goes to Arizona, and then Daniels in May are 2 and 3. So I think, I'm hoping that's how it goes. I'm hoping that there's not a insane trade that absolutely derails my coverage plans. But there's a lot of people out here. There's representatives. All 32 teams obviously have media out here, which is awesome to see. Got to network with some of them. Got to speak with some people with the AP, with ESPN, just doing what I always do, which is networking and not being afraid to talk to anybody and just plugging myself and making new friends.
And so, with the players themselves, you guys are going to have access to them after, I'm assuming.
Yes, there is post-selection media access. So for the 13 on-site athletes that will be in attendance today, following their selection, shaking Goodell's hand, getting a picture of them with the jersey, they'll get shuttled to where we are, which is like a building right next to the draft stage. They'll bring them up, and then it's like a press conference room. It's the same thing that you and me we're used to, and yeah, it'll be a short little interview session. I'm assuming no longer than 5 to 10 minutes, because I'm assuming that the next picks are going to be coming right up. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see how that's going to be when it's getting a little closer to 8. I'm just going to bring all of my stuff into that room and secure a good spot.
It sounds like the smart thing to do. Yeah, no, 100%.
I am a very smart individual, Robbie. I do recall doing quite well in my FAU courses this semester.
Speech and debate would beg to differ, but hey, you know what? You're at the NFL draft right now, so who wants to think about speech and debate, right, Christian? But you mentioned you've got Jaden Daniels at 2 and Drake May at 3. Me and Drew were just talking about this, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. Is Drake May really the best possible pick for the Patriots, or is it? I agree. No, I think the Patriots need to go out and get JJ McCarthy. They really do. They need somebody who's going to go out there and set the world on fire. And I really think he's somebody that can do that.
So I'm going to counter your point on 2 reasons, Robbie. First off, in my personal analysis and opinion, which I'm a little bit of a hater, but that's just me, there is 2 quarterbacks in this draft that are worth a first-round selection, in my honest opinion, and car, but with less of an arm. And I don't know. I think every quarterback in this draft that's not named Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams is going to be labeled a bust if they're picked in the first round.
It's a very fair assumption, especially. I mean, another rumor I saw was the Giants going up and getting Michael Penix at 6 today. We'll see if we'll see how that shakes out. But one QB that's for sure is going number 1, Caleb Williams. Christian, is I mean, obviously they pick again at 9, I believe, so they can go out and get him a receiver to pair along with him. But let's say he gets Rome Odunze. Are Caleb Williams and Rome enough to turn the Bears around, you think? I personally do not.
Well, it's not just Caleb Williams in Rome. It's also Caleb Williams in Rome with Keenan Allen, who is a perennial Pro Bowler, 6-time Pro Bowler. It's Caleb, Rome, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore, who's one of the most underrated receivers in the league. And also, they have a very good receiving back with DeAndre Swift. So I do think, and their line is halfway decent. Their biggest issue is going to be coaching, because I personally do not believe that the Bears have a good coaching staff. I do not believe Matt Eberflus is a good coach, but I actually thought that they were going to move on from him this offseason. I think they're going to give him one more year. And personally, I see no different. I see no difference with the success that the Bears will have with Caleb Williams versus what they have with Justin Fields. It's just it showed this offseason that the Bears were actually willing to invest in their quarterback instead of leaving him out to the Wolves for 3 years and then writing him off.
The Bears right now, they're in a very interesting, especially with the stadium move, and it just seems like he's entering a situation that could completely be different in a year, 2, 3, maybe. I mean, they could potentially, be needing a new GM, and if things don't work out how they want. And so it's just like, I don't know. Obviously Caleb's really talented, and someone's going to have to go to the Bears, but I just feel like the Bears have so much going on outside that people are just looking at Caleb Williams and like, oh yeah, the Bears, they're getting him, they're going to be good. I think the Bears may not be so hot next year, even with him. So we shall see. But I know, like you said, though, he does have weapons on the outside. So you pair a receiver like Rome with Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. That's really solid. But the Bears defense traditionally is usually not the issue, but I'm just still a little bit underwhelmed with the Bears defense. The front seven's nothing crazy. It's not like they don't have anyone really out there that's jumping out to me as somebody who can take over a game, right? They don't have a Micah Parsons type of guy on the edge. So I like his offensive weaponry, but the defense is something that will have to step up right alongside that offense with him. Eberflus also, like you said, it's an interesting fit, kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt that he'll work out with a better quarterback and that the issues the past couple of years wasn't him. Justin Fields is a very solid quarterback, in my opinion. He had his downfalls. He's not as talented as Caleb Williams, in my opinion, but is really all of the struggles on him, or some of it, in my opinion, has to be on Eberflus. So, like you said, Christian, I think he'll be on a short leash in this year, and if he's not on a short leash this year, I would be surprised.
Yeah, no, I agree. I disagree with anybody that says Justin Fields was the problem in Chicago. Justin Fields played 3 years in Chicago, had 2 different head coaches and 3 different offensive coordinators. The new schemes that he had to learn every year, like that is not a recipe for success. And yeah, like you said, I believe that Eberflus is on a very short leash, and his exit door is quite literally burning of how hot of a seat he is on. Because if you mess this up, you're cooked, and you will never get a job in professional sports again, because because I believe that Justin Fields was the best quarterback in his draft class in 21, but that's also not a high stretch because you look at guys like Zach Wilson and Trey Lance and a underwhelming Trevor Lawrence. I don't care what anybody says. Trevor Lawrence has underperformed really since high school. Like since he got to Clemson, I do believe being referred to as one of the greatest quarterback prospects ever and only having one national championship to show for it is underwhelming. But I believe that Justin Fields, I'll keep saying it, Justin Fields was not the issue in Chicago.
I agree, and he'll get a chance to at least, hopefully. I mean, he'll have to compete a little bit out there with Russ, but we'll see. We'll see if he can steal that starting job away and prove that everything that happened in Chicago wasn't necessarily his fault. So we shall see. Going back though to Jaden Daniels, right? People forget his success at Arizona State, Christian, and something I brought up to Drew, and I'll now bring up again to you, is the Raiders, I saw a rumor, are potentially interested in trading up and grabbing Jaden Daniels. No, I don't see how that's possible. I don't think the Patriots or the Commanders deal their pick. But my question, Christian, how important is it, right? So the reason Jaden Daniels wanted to go to Las Vegas is because his Antonio Pierce was his college coach. So how important is it for a player that's coming out of college to go to a situation that they want to go to rather than go to a situation where they may not necessarily be too excited to go there?
Well, I mean, if you already have the rapport with the coach, I think that's easy because coach knows, especially if he's had you for an extended period of time, like say Jaden Daniels did with Antonio Pierce or J.J. McCarthy did with Jim Harbaugh. They know your strengths. They know your weaknesses. They know what schemes work. They know what doesn't work. They know what throws you can make. They know what throws you can't make. If you're not able to make a back shoulder ball or a consistently be able to throw on the sideline, they're going to play a lot. They're going to have the receivers do a lot more in routes as opposed to outs. So I think that is definitely something that will play into it. However, I think Jaden Daniels doesn't want to go to Washington because Washington is quite literally quarterback hell.
It is. I agree.
Since 2010, Washington has had 18 different quarterbacks start a game.
Horrendous.
Once again, that is not a recipe for success. And what very few Washington Commanders fans are on the planet will agree is their quarterback carousel has not been a fun one. They're not enjoying their time at the amusement park. Jaden Daniels, if he goes to Washington, I hate to say it because I love Jaden Daniels as a prospect, he will become the next RG3. He will be a highly touted, Heisman-winning, mobile quarterback that goes to Washington, and then his career gets derailed by the fact that it is Washington, and they have nothing going for them.
I wouldn't wish Washington on really anybody. They're in a very rough situation. They don't have a lot of playmakers themselves. I was going to say Antonio Gibson, but he's not even on that team anymore. So
they got
Brian Robinson. They've got Brian Robinson, and that's about it.
They signed Austin Eckler in the offseason. However, we saw last year Austin Eckler was a shell of himself. With a good O-line, I think that he is cooked next year. I do not. Jaden Daniel or whoever Washington's future QB1 is will be running for their lives every game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And kicking it back over to the Bears real quick, Christian, let you go here in a couple minutes so you can go stake out your spot. But, we mentioned Rome getting drafted by the Bears at 9. How set in stone is it, do you think, that the Bears are looking at another offensive weapon to pair with Caleb Williams at 9 there? Because to me, they'll have their selection of defensive players at 9 as well. I think Dallas Turner goes at 8 to the Falcons. But other than that, I don't see a defensive player getting taken off the board at 9. So You talked about Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. Do they really need another wide receiver, or can they go get a JC Latham, a Quinyon Mitchell at CB, a Leitu at edge rusher? So a lot to consider there if you are the Bears. What do you think, Christian? What's the best move?
Honestly, well, Keenan Allen is only in Chicago. As of right now, he's only there for 1 year. If they choose to extend him during or after the season, that is on them. But currently, Keenan Allen only has 1 more year on his contract, and DJ Moore has 2. So if you're able to secure another young playmaker, and also you got to remember, Keenan Allen is like 32, 33 years old. He is on the wrong side of 30, especially for a wide receiver, and we all know, because I think everybody at one point has had Keenan Allen on fantasy football. He is so injury prone. Like, yeah, it's bad. He misses half of the games a year and still puts up 1,000 yards. Like, good for you, buddy. But he's just always injury prone. So I think that is a big factor that's going to come through. And like you said, I realistically think that there may be 0 or 1 defensive players off the board at this point at 9. I like the idea, especially because this is such a deep receiver class, and it is such a deep corner class. So you can get, because say you pass up on Rome at 9, you can either trade into the late round or late in the first round and get a receiver, or you can, I believe they have pick 33 to open up day 2.
Yep.
They can take, because I'm assuming the way I'm projecting, a guy like Keon Coleman will still be out there.
Valid.
Like I do believe that the mid-tier receivers that are not Harrison, Odunze, Neighbors, Brian Thomas, and the 2 Texas receivers, I believe everybody else is still on the board. So I believe both FSU wide receivers are still out there. A guy that I'm high on is, his name is blanking, but he was at Michigan, number 1 from Michigan. He's another
Roman.
receiver.
It's not Roman.
No, it's definitely not Roman.
I was going to say Roman. I thought his name was Roman. But
Roman Wilson.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah, Roman Wilson, I think he might be a mid-day 2 guy. That's another good option to explore, I think. Like, this is such a deep receiver class. Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky, I think, is the steal of the draft. Whoever gets him is getting an absolute dog. And then defensive back-wise, obviously we talked about Terrion Arnold, Nate Wiggins, and Quinyon Mitchell a lot last night, and then I'm assuming you and Drew spoke about it today. But another dude I want to highlight, and it would actually be funny if he falls to the Bears because his former teammate went to the Bears in the 2nd round last year, is Cam Kitchens from Miami, corner pairing up with his, like I said, former teammate Tyreek Stevenson. It's very well known that, like, the crib produces guys, and Cam Kitchens is a local South Florida dude. He grew up in the crib, went to Miami, absolutely balled out.
Yep.
He led college football not last year, but 2 years ago for interceptions by defensive backs and safeties. But that is a steal. I agree with that. Like, on the other side of the ball, it's Cam Kitchens, where he goes, he's going to be a day 1 impact guy. And the fact that he is not in the first round is actually surprising to me. But I think that's because he did not test well at the combine.
Yeah.
He had a down year last year.
We shall see where Cam ends up for sure. Christian, we got some breaking NFL news for you. Not necessarily draft news, but we'll ask you about it while you're there, and then we'll let you get out of here. But I just got it across my phone. So Eagles agreed to a 3-year, $96 million extension with A.J. Brown. Any thoughts on that?
That's big for the Eagles. A couple weeks ago, they extended Devontae Smith, and now they're extending A.J. Brown. So I think that's good because they're buying into Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
And it's your 2 receivers, they're back. there was a lot of talk about A.J. Brown wanting to demand a trade, this, that, and the other, and I think a lot of it stemmed from not getting the money he wanted on a new contract extension, despite just signing a contract extension when he got to Philly. When he got traded from the Titans, they signed him to a hippo load of money. I forgot the exact contract. But yeah, if they continue to extend him, I think A.J. Brown is going to be a very happy man, because A.J. Brown had a breakout season last year. I believe he was second in yards last year. There was one point him and Tyreek were both chasing who would be the guy that would break Megatron's record and go for 2,000 yards. Unfortunately, neither of them did. I'm a Miami homer. I wanted Tyreek to, but I think that's good for the Eagles, because honestly, at this point, they really don't have to worry about skill positions. Go out. Your secondary got a little cooked up during free agency. I think go and get somebody in the secondary. Somebody that they need to get, in my opinion, this would be a huge get, is if they get UNC linebacker Cedric Gray to replace Hassan Reddick after Hassan Reddick went to the Jets, because
I like that.
Reddick is a fast, agile linebacker slash edge who's able to. He's quick and he's able to get to the quarterback. If I had to give a draft, if I had to give a pro comp to Cedric Gray, it would be Hassan Reddick for the exact same reason.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first from Christian Proscia. We're going to let Christian get out of here and get his position ready, because we're 2 minutes away from the official start time of the NFL draft. We shall see exactly how long it takes for that first pick to happen. But Christian, thank you so much for hopping on the phone with us. Get some good content. Check him out, BleacherBrothers.com, New Era Prep. Check Christian Proscia out. Christian, we will talk to you later. As for right now, we were going to take a quick break here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network, 102.9 The Game. When we come back, another update from Steven, and this time from Chef Tom as we hear about the Zurich Open in golf. We will be right back.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, you know that's unheard of. You better watch how you're talking and where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lined in chalk. I really hate the trip, but I gotta low. As they croak, I see myself in the pistol smoke. Fool, I'm the kind of G the little homies wanna be like, on my knees in the night, saying prayers in the street light.
One more gangster-themed Paradise song for you here on the Riptide Media Network, 102.9 The Game, Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. You're listening to the Bleacher Brothers Show. This is Robbie Lastella. We are winding down our draft night coverage. 1 hour left to go. Before we get into what's going on in the draft as it happens, let's hear from Steven, and then we'll have Chef Tom on the board talking about the Zurich Open. We'll bring him up here, Steven.
What's happening, brother? Hey, Steven, real quick, can you put both me and Robbie on the screen? Okay. Okay. All right. I'm sharing a screen.
All right. Here.
Yeah, I want you to pop that screen on there real quick. If you look at that picture, Robbie, you see that picture right there?
It's kind of terrifying.
That's actually the face of Steeplechase. And your hair kind of looks like that when you look straight into the camera.
I hope my smile doesn't look like that, though, Tom. I think that would be terrifying.
No. Real quick story. My mother's, well, actually, I guess it would be my great-great-grandfather, Harry Wildman. He was a sign painter. You could take that off there, Steven. He was a sign painter in Coney Island. Did you hear me?
No, I actually, you cut out after sign painter in New Jersey. I was waiting for.
No. What I was saying was my great-grandfather was the original sign painter for the Steeplechase face.
Oh.
Yeah, great-great-grandfather, Harry Wildman. Hey, what's up there, Angel? How you doing there, buddy? Okay, so let's get to the Zurich Classic. We talked about the Zurich Classic quite a bit yesterday. It's actually a team play event, and I am pulling it up right now. The current leaderboard right now. Now, what's great about the Zurich Classic of New Orleans is this leaderboard, it's pretty jammed up at the top. Right now, you got Hubbard and Brim. McIlroy and Lowry right now are also tied for first. And that's actually pretty exciting because I think they're going to stay up there. Now, what happens is yesterday or today, they played what is called, you play your own shot. You got two players on each team. You play your own shot, right? And at the end of the hole, let's say Angel and I are one team and he has a birdie and I have a par. Well, we score Angel's birdie, okay? Now, tomorrow's format is basically alternate shot, which means I tee off first. I hit a screaming drive down the fairway, and then Angel takes the next shot. and then he puts it on the green, 20 feet from the hole, and I get an outrageous putt and I drop it in. That's the alternate, okay? And then it goes back to each shot play. Okay? On the last day, it's an alternate. And, of course, in the PGA, they move the tees all over the place. So I think it's going to be a pretty exciting weekend. Now, my picks I had for my top five, Morikawa and, oh my God, who's the other guy? I can't remember the other guy's name, but they're not even up on the board. I mean, I'm already down, tied for 8th, tied for 22nd. Yeah, they're not doing very well. So, but the right now we have a log jam at the top. There's four teams in first. You got Hubbard and Brem. You got Kazar and Coles, Lipsky and Ray, Lowry and McElroy, which I think is a hot team. And then you have Novak and Thompson at second place. Now, second place, there's three teams tied at second, which actually, when you have three teams tied at second, means they're in fifth place. And it just keeps going. Now, I mean, this is a crazy leaderboard. It goes all the way down to 9 under. We have at least, excuse me, we have at least, there got to be at least 20 players within 2 strokes of the lead. So, if you have prop bets, you want to play prop bets, okay? And I don't know why my screen is kind of all wacky here. But anyway, if you're going to play a prop bet, take a look at those top 10 teams, okay? And going into tomorrow, you can put teams against other teams. Look at the leaderboard, see when they're starting. And you can play one team against another, and who's going to finish out the day, better score. There's a lot of different prop bets that you can do. I'm very limited with the prop bets that I can do down here because of the app that we have. We only get the Hard Rock, unfortunately. Hopefully that'll be changing soon. But go to if let's say if you're in I guess in New Jersey, they have a lot of different apps you can use. Arizona, and don't go just jumping right into it. What I would do is just do a little bit of homework, but do it before the tournament starts. So you want to do it tonight or early in the morning if you can, and just jump on it. Try and take your top 10 teams that are at the top of the leaderboard right now, and I would work off of them because those top 10 teams right now, they're all pretty hot. And what happens is in this tournament, I mean, I'm predicting that the finals, the winner is probably going to come in around 24 to 28 under, which in a regular tournament is pretty unheard of. But when you're playing team play, it's you got a lot of chances. It's kind of like when you're playing a four ball, and I hate playing four ball, in outings that we do because four balls, I just call it the best cheater wins. Because if you got a team of 4 guys and you're playing best ball, who's there to watch you to make sure that you're not cheating? I see it happen all the time. That's why I like it when they have a best ball, a 2-man best ball team against a 2-man best ball team. And I wish they did that format in the Zurich. There is a tournament that does that. I can't remember it offhand. I think that would be a really good tournament to get some prop bets in. But right now, Zurich, the Zurich Classic, take a look at the top 10 players, build your prop bets off of that. I'm saying right now, probably the winner of the tournament is probably going to be McElroy and Lowry. Those are 2 seasoned players, and they play well together. They did great today. They're tied for first. I think they're going to stay top of the leaderboard pretty much throughout the whole tournament. They may drop maybe 1 or 2 strokes, but then they come back strong, especially when they start doing alternate. And the only thing that scares me with the alternate with McElroy is, he is great off of the tee, but sometimes he goes for it when he shouldn't instead of playing a little conservative, and then hope that your teammate Lowry, who is fantastic around the greens, let him pick up the slack. Like on a par 5, for instance. Let's say it's alternate shot tomorrow. Let's say Lowry McElroy blasts a drive. Lowry, not as long as McElroy with his fairway woods, blasted in. Then you got McIlroy. He takes the shot into the green. Now let's flip it. Let's say you have Lowry teeing off. Lowry blasts the drive. McIlroy, let's say they're 260 out, 270 out. McIlroy's going to grab his 3-wood. He's going to go for it. Problem is, McIlroy sometimes, I would say 7 out of 10 times, you know, he'll kind of spray one, not get it, not be way out of there, but not get it on the green. So strategically, McIlroy, I think he should just lay it up, get it close, just don't go for the green. Play the sure shot, and then let Lowry finish it off. Lowry's pretty hot off around the green. I mean, he's chipped in numerous times as well as McIlroy. But McIlroy, putting wise, I think he might have a little bit of a struggle. So I'm hoping on the alternate shots that Lowry has the longer putts than McIlroy. McIlroy, he's hot and cold with the putts. Hey, Robbie, are you following the Zurich at all?
But what I did see this weekend, Tom, and I venturing away from the Zurich real quick, did you see Tiger Woods' son shot an 81, failed to qualify for the U.S. Open qualifying round?
Hang on a second. Say what? He shot an 81?
Yeah, Tiger Woods' son. He didn't qualify for the U.S. Open qualifying round. I don't know how old. He's 15, so he's got some time. But
yeah, not too long ago when they were doing a qualifier down here, I can't remember for what tournament it was. I think it was for the one that they had up in PGA.
Okay, yeah. So he played. Tiger's son played at Legacy Golf and Tennis Club in Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Right. I know the course.
Yeah. So he had 1 birdie, 4 bogeys, and unfortunately 3 double bogeys. He shot a 40 on the front side and a 41 on the back.
And you want to know something? 81, isn't that the score his father shot on the last round of the U.S. Open? I mean, the Masters?
Yeah, it was. That's funny.
It was the last round of the Masters. And I felt bad for Tiger. The thing is with golf, and with any sport, you got to play a lot. If you look at early in Tiger's career, one of the reasons why he was always up there and number one is because he played every tournament. If you look early in Jordan Spieth's career, he was on fire when he won the U.S. Open. I believe it was up in Canada, or not Canada, in Oregon or Washington, like just outside of Seattle, I think it was. And the course was a mess. But when Jordan Spieth won that tournament, he played. I'm not going to say every week, but he played in a ton of tournaments, and he always stayed up there. And what happens with a lot of these players, once the money starts coming in from the sponsorships, they kind of back off a little bit, and then all of a sudden you don't see them playing as much. And if you don't play as much, you gotta play in order to be good. We talked about this the other night. Luke Donald, for instance, he was number one in the world. He dethroned Tiger, and he never won a tournament. He just played in so many tournaments. He was always up there in the money, and that's how they go for the standings. It's based off of it's how much money you're winning, and I think what they need to do with the PGA, I think they need to come to they need to tell these players, listen, in order to maintain your card, well, a lot of these players are exempt for almost forever. But they need to say, listen, to play in these certain tournaments like the Masters, the Open, the Championship, you really can't say the Open, the British Open, because that's not run by the PGA. But you got to say, listen, in order for you to qualify for these tournaments, you need to play so many tournaments during the year. And the thing is if you notice and you watch golf, it's pretty much only the big tournaments that are bringing the draw. And, a lot of these other tournaments, if a lot of these big players aren't there, you go there and it's like watching a Champions Tour match where, there's not a ton of fans, and the fan base is big for you know, I mean, the fan base is huge. Now, for me, I'd rather sit at home and watch it on the couch. But I'm not walking all 18. I mean, I can't remember the last time I walked 18 holes. And playing, I'm not
Yeah.
going to do it as a fan. That's for sure. I remember during COVID, my son Joey and I, when we were first allowed out to play, they said this one course. It was in Mission Valley, out in San Diego, and I called up and they said, yeah, we're allowing carts out. I was like, okay, great. So I said to my son, let's go play. And this is a very hilly course. So we get out there, right? And I said to the guy, I says, hey, and I paid for it online, so there's no refunds. And I says, okay, you guys, so we could take carts. How come I don't see any carts out? And he goes, oh, we're talking the hand carts, the pull carts. I'm like,
Oh,
"Right,
wow.
I can do that, I'll pull a cart. He goes, yeah, the problem is we ran out. So if you want to play, you're going to have to carry. So I looked at my son, I said, I don't want to play. I'm not carrying my bag for 18 holes. He said, oh, come on, Dad, let's play. I says, no, I don't want to do it. He said, oh, come on. So we get out there. Once we get to the 10th hole, I was done. I mean, I lied down on the side of the tee box. I was done. Like, people were coming up to me like, are you okay? You need water? I'm like, no, I'm just waiting for my son to, because this part of the course, it went 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, came back past the 10th hole. So I got myself a good hour and a half nap waiting for my kid to come back.
There you go. There you go. Sometimes you got to do that in this sunny South Florida weather. You got to take a siesta a little bit.
No, this was out in San Diego.
Oh yeah, you did. You just say okay, yeah.
Yeah,
But
during
still
COVID.
just as hot out there sometimes.
Well, it all depends on where you are. I mean, where I lived in San Diego, where I had my house in Escondido, it could be 100 degrees, and 5 miles away, where my ex-wife lived in Rancho Bernardo, it would be 75 degrees. But it's all the wind, from the ocean coming in and all that, and that's another thing out in California with golfing, is the wind is. How did you watch the Masters at all?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, did you notice at the Masters, like there was a big deal with the wind swirling, it could be blowing in your face while you're on the tee, but when you're on the green, it's going opposite. So a lot of these guys were kind of struggling with reading the wind. Well, that's exactly the way it is out in California, because a lot of these courses are going through mountains, and you can, like, there's this one hole at Woods Valley where you're up on the tee box and you're elevated. I'm guessing probably about 100 feet from where the fairway is, 150 feet from where the fairway is, and it's a drivable green. The problem is the wind at the top of the tee box is different than the wind down by the green, and it's kind of a blind green, so you can't see the flag at the green to see which way you want to manipulate your ball, and so it's kind of like a poke and hope. How you doing there, Gene? Great to see you there, buddy. All right. So, hey, listen, I'm going to sign off here. I'm going to give a pretty thorough update on the Zurich Classic next week, and we will go from there. So, Robbie, you have a good night. The show is great. I loved your interview. And Angel, how you doing there, buddy? Angel's busy, but I'm signing out here. Gene, enjoy yourself. Robbie will do. We'll take you on the rest of the way. I'm out of here. Adios.
Chef Tom, everybody. All right. Before we head to a quick break, Steven, do you want to come on and give us a quick sports update before we head to commercial break and bring on the amazing Coach Gene Clemens? No rush.
All right, you guys, we are going to give you guys some updates right now. Right now in the NBA, the Orlando Magic are up 63-45 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The first pick of the NFL draft is in. The first pick is announced. And we guessed correctly. And it's Caleb Williams going to the Bears. So Caleb Williams is the first overall pick of the NFL draft. At the end of the first quarter in the NBA, in the Sixers and Knicks game, the Knicks are up 29-27. If you missed these if you're wondering where these scores are found, these are found on the Bleacher Brothers website and on the top page. And it's at Scoreline Ticker. You can click on them and you can get box scores and read odds and stuff and everything you need. We're going to shift to MLB. If you missed the early finals, we'll go over them one more time for you. The Milwaukee Brewers beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 7-5. The Minnesota Twins beat the Chicago White Sox 6-3. The Cleveland Guardians beat the Boston Red Sox 6-4. The Phillies shout out the Cincinnati Reds 5-0. And in Kansas City, the Royals beat the Toronto Blue Jays 2-1. The Cubs beat the Astros 3-1. The Seattle Mariners beat the Texas Rangers 4-3. The Colorado Rockies won 10-9 against the San Diego Padres. And the Dodgers beat the Washington Nationals 2-1. Right now in New York with the Yankees and A's, the Oakland A's are up 3-1 right now in the bottom of the 5th inning. And our hockey action, we have in the second period, the game in Tampa Bay and Florida. Tampa Bay just scored. It's a 2-1 Tampa Bay Lightning game. At the end of the first period in New York, the Carolina Hurricanes are up 2-0 against the New York Islanders. And that's your guys' sports update. We're going to give you guys a commercial, and we'll be right back with Robbie Lastella and Coach Gene Clemens on the Bleacher Brothers Show.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving.
Steven is pulling out all the stops tonight to find us the Paradise reference in songs, leading us in with some Big Sean. Robbie Lastella here on the Bleacher Brothers Show, joined now by the coach himself, the man who actually knows something about the NFL and isn't just here to talk about it. Coach Gene Clemens joining us on the Bleacher Brothers Show. Coach, how you doing tonight?
Wake it up. I'm here. It's a long night. Like, if y'all aren't locked in, then I don't know what's going on. It's a long night. We're going to be around. We're out here. Caleb Williams in other news. The Bears took Caleb Williams with the first pick overall. That's not where the draft starts at. The draft starts at number 2. What's Washington going to do? I'm excited about it. Love the interview with the new FAU coach. He's got his hands full. I think y'all caught lightning in the bottle that one time. I don't know if it's ever going to be like that again at FAU, if I'm being honest. But I did like a couple of the transfer portal guys that you brought in. it'll be interesting to see how he gets those guys to gel together.
Yep.
But it's just so much going on right now, and I need a little bit more from my boy Lastella right now. I need you to just bring a little bit more to juice, a little more juice out of you right now while I'm on, and then once I'm gone, you can go back to being chill if that's what you want to do. By the way, anybody that's out there watching, I'm shameless plugging all night at Coach Gene Clemens on YouTube. Make sure you go ahead and go there, hit that subscribe button, so that from 4 to 6 o'clock every single day leading right into this show, you can hang out with me listening to Talk Spicy. Great show that I was talking all football, a little bit of basketball today. It was fantastic. But like I'm juiced up. I got a little something to sip on. It's gonna be a long night. I've got articles to write. I've got videos to record. This is what we live for if you are into this sports thing the way that I'm into this sports thing.
Coach is absolutely dialed in. I'm going to amp my energy up. I'm here for it, right? I mean, my Giants are picking in just a couple of picks.
6, baby.
Yeah, so you know what? I'm stoked about that. I got my opinions on that. We'll get into the Giants in just a bit. But number 2 pick is off the board. At least according to my ESPN app, Jaden Daniels is headed to Washington, pick 2. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I have him over Drake May. They're both really talented. Drake May, though, in my opinion, he's got more mobility than your typical pocket passer, but I just don't think he has that it factor that Jaden Daniels does. For me, the Patriots, I want to see them with this 3 pick. I think they are going to go Drake May, but it would be cool to see them go out and surprise some people. Maybe take a Penix, maybe even take a J.J. McCarthy, trade back possibly, because both of those guys could be there. Coach, what is your thoughts on Jaden Daniels versus Drake May, the debate that's been taking the world over?
I don't think it was a debate at all. I don't know why people ever thought that Drake May was on the same level as Jaden Daniels. I think a lot of times we see some of these quarterbacks get the rub because of their look. There's just a certain look that you have to have for people to all of a sudden think that you're an NFL caliber quarterback. And a lot of times it doesn't have anything to do with what you do on the field. Does Drake May have a big arm? Yeah, he has a good arm. He has a strong arm. Is Drake May athletic? Yes, he's an athletic guy. Is he a difference maker with his legs? No. Is he a game changer when the game means the most? No. And so for me, and I don't like taking quarterbacks early regardless, unless you're like a generational talent. But if I'm going to take a quarterback early, you have to be a +1 in the run game, and you have to be dynamic when you're attacking downfield, because those are the metrics that you can take advantage of defenses with in the NFL today. So if you're not a +1 with the legs, if you're not a home run hitter with the legs, if you can't dial up a deep ball and be willing to throw it before the wide receiver is wide open, then I'm probably not rocking with you. And that's one of the reasons why I don't rock with Drake May. And I hope he goes 3rd so that the Giants don't get him. I hope he doesn't fall to 6, because I have a feeling that if he falls to 6, the Giants will fall into the trap. And now we'll be Jones 2.0 all over again.
So we'll bring up the Giants now, and I'm a Giants fan, and for me, the pick, ideally if Malik Neighbors is still there, go get Malik Neighbors at 6 if you're the Giants. The definitely not Drake May. I honestly didn't even consider the possibility of that until you mentioned it, but why would we do I understand, yes, Daniel's been not so good, and the injuries, but there's a lot of money tied into Daniel Jones. And so if we go out and draft a quarterback, especially with the 6th pick, that slot value is going to be high. I'm paying him a couple $1 million, I believe. And so now if they do that, what's Daniel Jones' spot with all this money? Is this quarterback going to sit behind Daniel Jones? If so, for 1 year, I guess. But it's like, it's a waste of somebody's money. You're either wasting the slot value of a first overall pick on a quarterback, or you're wasting the money you already spent on Daniel Jones and not even giving him the real opportunity. He's had opportunities, yes, but give him one more year with Malik Neighbors on the outside. If he still can't succeed, then I texted to you this the other day. Go get Shedeur Sanders next year if that's what they really want to do and give up on Daniel Jones so fast. Coach, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, the reason that you take a quarterback now, even though you have Daniel Jones under contract, is because the majority of the money gets off the board after this year. So, like, once this year is over, the money gets off the board, and I don't really know what's going on with my feed and why I look so sloppy on the live broadcast. But I apologize to the people. Hopefully, they can hear me well. So the thing you do is you give Daniel Jones this final season to be able to prove that he can be the guy, right? You give him the final season to prove that he can be the guy, and if he can't be the guy, then and the season goes awry, you can turn to the rookie halfway through the season and let him get his feet wet going into the next season. Also, what it ends up doing is it allows you to not have to worry about where you're picking next year in the draft if you want to take a quarterback this year. Guarantee yourself a quarterback this year, and now next year you continue to build around whatever quarterback you choose this year. My problem, and as I speak, I believe the Patriots have already taken Drake May, which I predicted because I thought that Drake May just kind of fits the profile of what a New England Patriots fan would want out of their quarterback, without saying any more than that. But now this opens up the real question, right? Because now here's where it gets fun at, right? If Drake May is in fact going to New England, are you sitting at the 6th pick going to take the 4th rated quarterback in this draft over the top wide receiver or the second best wide receiver or another position? Or if you're sitting at 6 and you've got multiple options, why are you not looking to trade down and add value because you need draft picks? This is a low draft for you. You don't have a lot of picks. If I'm the Giants, I'm setting everything up to build around the quarterback. And if Daniel Jones can't get it done, then all I need next year is a quarterback. So I can mortgage the entire draft if I have to move up into the position to get Shedeur Sanders, who I believe is the most pro-ready quarterback that has come out in the draft in the last 10 years.
I agree with you on that one. And with him comes I personally think the attention that he gets is a good thing, at least at the college level, right? I mean, that him and his dad completely changed the game for Colorado. The Giants don't need a polarizing figure at quarterback. They definitely don't need media attention. But bringing him in and all that he provides, I think it's something that Giants fans would rally around. And so I think that would definitely be an interesting scenario that would arise next year. But we shall see. If that's the case by this time next year, Joe Schoen's seat, however you say his last name, it's going to be Joe Schoen. There you go. Red hot if by the time next year, if they're replacing the quarterback. But he's done some good things, done some bad things, but that's just the nature of the game.
It's been up and down. It's been spotty. Let's call a spade a spade. We've been giving, well, not we, but Giants fans have been giving Joe Schoen praise for different moves that he's made, but the drafting has not been good. If you look at the pieces that he has drafted, how many offensive linemen has he drafted, and we still have offensive line issues? And by we, I mean the Giants. If you are drafting 3 offensive linemen in one draft, two of them that are supposed to be guards, one's supposed to be tackle, and yet you've got the two guards playing everything but guard. They're playing tackle. They're moving all around. They're getting injured. Your tackle's getting injured. You take an injury-prone, undersized slot receiver who is dynamic but has injuries, and lo and behold, he gets injured. He essentially gets a red shirt his rookie year. Now you're sitting there trying to find ways to get him the ball, and meanwhile, you've got another rookie wide receiver who's a deep threat that you can't get the ball to because Daniel Jones refuses to cut it loose deep on many times. All of a sudden, you've got Darius Slayton sitting here as a wide receiver who has been the stalwart in your receiving crew his entire career, looking at other wide receivers who he has better stats than get paid all this money, and then people have a nerve to wonder why he's looking at holding out. You've lost two safeties that the Giants have homegrown. You lost Julian Love, you didn't get anything for him.
That was a bad one.
You lost Xavier McKinney, you didn't get anything for him. You drafted these guys. Not them, but people, the last regime, the regime that everybody said was horrible at drafting, right? Drafted these guys in the middle rounds. They both became legitimate starters and Pro Bowl caliber players for them. They didn't pay them. They let them go for free. You let Saquon Barkley go for free. Like, you're letting legitimate talent that is going to make other teams better go, and you're getting nothing in return for them. Meanwhile, you paid draft picks and a whole lot of money for a defensive end edge rusher from Carolina that does not get consistently over 10 sacks a season.
All valid concerns, for sure. Especially, I mean, the wide receiver debacle with Darius Slayton is something I've always thought he's really talented. And right now, you look at if they go out and get Neighbors, you got Isaiah Hodgins, you got Jalen Hyatt, you got Neighbors, you got Slayton. So there's only two outside spots, unless one of them's making the switch to the slot, and then all of a sudden Wan'Dale Robinson's out of a job too. So it's like it's interesting for me. I think Slayton could play in the slot very well, but he's an outside guy, at least in my eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, I think all of those guys have inside receiver ability, right? Like, they all bring something different to the table. Neighbors is the guy that I believe has the most versatility of his game, that can play legitimately an X receiver, but also come in and play in the slot. Wan'Dale is probably the one that is tethered to the slot. Jalen Hyatt can come into the slot and be like an interior run a defense off kind of guy. And then Slayton can operate in the slot from time to time. But the problem ends up being we never are going to know how good all of these players are if you don't get consistency from the quarterback. Mm-hmm. So people keep saying, oh, well, Darius Slayton is only this and he's only that. Put Darius Slayton in Kansas City and tell me that Darius Slayton's not catching 1,200 yards receiving. Put Darius Slayton in Miami as the number 3 guy and tell me he's not putting up the same type of stats that he's putting up in New York as the number 1 guy. Put Darius Slayton into Cincinnati and tell me that he can't put him over there with Josh Allen. You know what Josh Allen's going to do? He's going to throw the ball deep. You know what Darius Slayton does really well? Catches deep balls. So it's like, when you think about the talent that the Giants have, I love the fact that all these people are just under the assumption that we need more wide receivers, as if these wide receivers haven't had to deal with the same quarterback that they have complained about for 6 years.
Man, you're bursting my bubble. I might need to go redo my draft board at this point. Malik Neighbors, he's looking good on paper to me.
Harrison Jr. off the board, by the way. Marvin Harrison Jr. off the board to AZ.
So why don't we go back to the draft at hand? So Drake May to the Patriots at 3 and Marvin Harrison to the Cardinals at 4. Looking at May, the Patriots are weapon struggling right now outside of May. Gerard Mayo, I think, is going to be a good coach, but it's just looking rough outside of Drake May, in my opinion. And I just don't. If out of all the scenarios for him to end up in, I think this is the one that least sets him up for success, in my opinion.
I mean, any place that you're going in the top 5, you're not set up for success. Outside of Chicago, Chicago's the only team that is set up for success in the top 5. Every other team has major question marks, major holes. Some are in cap hell. Some don't have the requisite things needed to support a quarterback. And then some just don't even need a quarterback. So, like, if you're looking at the top 5, top 6, is he in any better shape in New York as a Giant than he would be with the Patriots? Other than we think that there are better receiving options in New York than in New England, but who's to say for real? It's like, if you're getting picked in the top 5, unless it's something like the Bears where you inherited the number 1 pick from the worst team because they traded it to you the year before, you're probably going to a bad situation, right? And I could argue that the Bears made the silliest move because they were set up to run the greatest gamut in the history of draft gamuts, and they decided to do the flashy thing instead of doing the practical thing, which would have been to trade that number 1 pick and run the playbook the same way they did last year, pick up a bunch more picks this year and next year, and now you let Justin Fields take advantage of all of this talent that they brought in the moment they got rid of Justin Fields, all this talent that they brought in, and if he can't get it done, then next year, guess what? You're in the Shedeur Sanders sweepstakes, and you keep this thing rolling. Like, they had a chance to set themselves up in perpetuity. They could have ran the playbook back and kept trading their picks for first rounds next year and a later first round this year, because this idea that you have to get some type of blue chip talent in the top 10 is ridiculous. There are 11 offensive tackles that are coming out this year that can walk into an NFL team and start tomorrow. 11. Not all of them are going in the first round.
I think Joe Alt is the only one, in my opinion, that'll go top 10. I think
Fashanu will probably pop in there somewhere. I think those two will probably be top 15. But then there's another like 4 or 5 that can fall anywhere between 15 and 25, I believe. But there are 11 of them that are legitimate starting tackles in the NFL day one, and not all 11 of them are going in the first round.
Yeah, no one likes to take the offensive lineman though, Coach. It's not the flashy pick. The fans aren't going to be liking the Instagram posts. They're going to be like, "Who the heck is this guy? Why is he 350 pounds?"
Hey, your $250 million quarterback is going to love a nice tackle. I guarantee you this: if those tackles start falling and Baltimore is sitting there, I guarantee you Baltimore grabs one, and that's why the rich stay rich. Is because the poor keep doing the stupid things like buying Corvettes with their refund money instead of going out and buying houses, right? Like, that's the difference. Baltimore, they buy land. They buy land, they buy property, they make sensible investments. These teams that are the flashy, fly by night, want to make a splash, they're out there buying cars, they're out there buying like designer jewelry, stuff that won't appreciate. And that's why they end up right back in this top 15 every single year. We see the same teams populate this top 15 every single year. That's not by some stretch of the imagination. That's because good GMs and good front offices, they make the sensible choice. They don't make the splash choice. They make the sensible choice.
Ravens had Ozzie for so many years, just cooking up back there in the
absolutely.
GM. And now you mentioned the Ravens buying land. Derrick Henry is going to be running all over that land, especially if they can snag a top 11, like you said, 11 guys, offensive linemen that could go and start for them this year. So put him with Lamar, put him with Derrick Henry. That's going to be that would be definitely a solid addition if I was the Ravens. Going next to the Cardinals, though, Marvin Harrison Jr. Basically a chance to turn himself into the next Larry Fitz over there in Arizona if things work out. But that's if things work out. Still, Kyler is still a question mark, sort of, kind of at quarterback. And then outside of those two, the weapons get very slim out there in Arizona. So, Coach, any thoughts on Marvin Harrison to Arizona? Is he the number one wide receiver for sure?
Nope. I mean, not in the draft. He's the number one wide receiver in Arizona.
Yep.
I think he has the highest ceiling of almost any player in this draft. I think he has the Hall of Fame glow about him, right? But there are things about his game that he's going to have to continue to work on, and I think he will because his father's a pro. He knows what to do, and now that all of the charades and the antics are over, it's just now time to focus on football, and I think he'll do that just fine. I'm really interested to see how they play him, but I'm not really worried about Kyler Murray per se. I'm really more concerned about what this offense is going to look like with a healthy Kyler Murray all season. When he came back, he played well. He did some great things. So I don't think it's a, oh my gosh, we gotta move on for Kyler Murray. He's been infinitely better than Daniel Jones, over his time. So I don't think they're in the, if it doesn't work this year with Kyler Murray, maybe it's over. Now, again, I say that, and I feel like most of these teams don't feel like they don't want to wait anymore. But I really do believe that they have a quarterback that knows how to get his best wide receiver the ball, and that's going to be great for Marvin Harrison Jr. Joe Alt gone off the table, by the way.
Gone off the table. I was just about to say, I love this pick for the Chargers. Don't trade back, which is an interesting choice. Could have easily done that. But they go out and they grab a protector for Justin Herbert. They're not trading him and his $350 million cap hit, which those rumors were absolutely insane to me. I don't think anyone really thought that was possible except the people that were getting paid to write those articles. Joe, I think it's a Jim Harbaugh pick. You look at what he did at Michigan, all the offensive line success year in, year out. He knows how to look at an offensive lineman and say, this is the guy I want, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, he's a hardball, right? And hardballs are sensible. They're sensible coaches. They come from coaching stock. They build the team inside out. So what do you do when you've had issues protecting a quarterback that's making over $250 million? You go get an offensive lineman, right? You go and get an offensive lineman, and then you worry about the weapons around him later on because you can find receivers everywhere and you can find running backs everywhere. I think it's a great pick, and I think it's awesome because now it puts the Giants on the board. And once these Giants make the pick, Robbie, I gotta roll because I've gotta get stuff popping. But
Coach, I agree with you. It's working out in our favor. We've been going since 6 p.m. here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Got 10 minutes left before we sign off tonight. And it's looking like the last pick of the evening that we'll get to see, at least on here.
Giants, baby.
Our New York Giants. My New York Giants. I don't know if you're a New York Giants fan.
I write for a Giants publication, Robbie, remember.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, I did. I've been seeing the articles come out, but you can be a fan too. But I just wanted to
No, not a fan.
Gotcha.
I wanted to be known. Because I disagree with a lot of stuff, and I think a lot of people misconstrued you wanting something good to happen for a team with you being a fan of the team. I'm not a fan of the team. I want good things to happen for the team, right? And because selfishly, and you know this, business is good for Bleacher Brothers when FAU basketball and football are good, right?
Yep.
Like it's infinitely easier to put content out when things are going well. I listened to the interview AJ did with a couple of guys up there from Michigan, and they were talking about how great the season was. Well, it's good. It's a great season because the team's winning, which means more fans are engaged. So I always want good things, but I'm not going to sit here and lie when I don't agree with some things. Like people are talking about, oh, you gotta bench Evan Neal, you gotta get him out of town. I'm like, you gotta get out a guy who could, if he doesn't work out at right tackle, he could.
He's building us up there. Oh, you really
Hey,
suspense.
Luker, you totally killed this one, my guy. Come on, Luker.
Steven, the suspense is killing me
This
over
is-
here, man. Are you sure?
Okay. We're just gonna assume because this is not great. But Luker, I love you, but you just totally like buzz killed us right there. Okay. All right. Now we're here. Luker, I love you, my guy. I love you. But oh my gosh, you just made life a lot harder, boy, for this last wow.
Last 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 8 minutes,
Okay,
whatever it is.
so in terms of a pick, this is a sensible pick.
Mm-hmm.
This is a sensible pick. You pick whom I believe is the number one wide receiver on the board. You now surround Daniel Jones with a proven commodity in Darius Slayton, a gadget guy in the slot with Wan'Dale Robinson, a deep threat young guy with Jalen Hyatt, and now you've got your alpha guy, who at least the guy who should be your alpha guy, the guy that you haven't had since Odell Beckham left, right? So you have everything. If he can't be successful with this weaponry, then now you know it's time to move on. And you've got the meat of that contract out of the way where you can get from underneath the contract for not a lot of money and then go draft somebody next year.
I agree with you 100%. That's why I said the Giants should go ahead and grab Malik Neighbors if he's there. It's going to be interesting to see. It's now officially turned into a make or break year, if it wasn't already, for Daniel Jones. Now he's got that, like you said, OBJ type player out there on the edge.
Yeah.
So
you got to do your thing.
I wonder though if what kind of role now does Jalen Hyatt play in year 2? I before the Neighbors pick, I kind of saw him taking one of those outside roles for sure. Now does he kind of take a back seat?
No, I don't think he takes a back seat at all. I see a full wide with Hyatt on the outside, Neighbors on the outside, Wan'Dale and Darius Slayton in the slots. And you can kind of like play with it where Slayton is in the slot, but he's on the line, and then you take Hyatt off the line to kind of keep him away from press. And now you get the dynamic of two burners who can go deep in Hyatt and Slayton. You have an underneath guy who can catch it and then run, and then you've got your do everything guy in Neighbors to work like a one side or in a 3-by-1 set or work, where you get motion, because there's a lot of motion in that offense for what they do in the Giants. I think it's a great addition. I don't think this stunts Jalen Hyatt's growth, because I don't think Jalen Hyatt was ever brought here to be a wide receiver number 1. So I think he's going to continue to fill in. Now, who this does impact, it impacts the rest of those guys, like the guys that come after them. Because if and my brain just went, blank with them, tight end.
Waller Bellinger.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, if Darren Waller comes back, he's going to be a part of this offense. He is still dynamic, and so I can see him being the guy who is the fourth guy, and that might then impact. That might then impact Jalen Hyatt and his touches. But if you've got no Waller, now that opens him up to come in. But then guys like Isaiah, like those guys are going to have to fight for wide receiver 5, 6, and 7 if they keep 7.
Lot to work itself out for the Giants over the next year, including the next couple of days, as this rest of the NFL draft will conclude over Friday, Saturday, and just Sunday, or just Saturday?
Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday. Interesting.
Second tackle off the board.
Yeah.
I told you there's going to be a run on them. There's a lot of talented tackles in here.
Titans need a tackle for sure. Will Levis was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL last season. So I think that's where we will finish our night, is with the Titans pick. I doubt we make it to the Falcons. I think the Falcons go get Dallas Turner here, if I had to make my prediction before we sign off. Coach, what are we looking at for your rest of your draft night coverage here?
I'll be dropping a quick reaction scouting report on the new wide receiver here in New York. I'll be doing a little video, and then I'll be watching to see if there's any willing and dealing the rest of the night. But make sure that you check all that Giants content out at Giants Country. I'll probably be jumping on with Patricia Traynor later on to do the Locked On Giants podcast. As that stuff goes on. So it's going to be a long night. We're going to be locked in. And as always, you can find all that content at Coach Gene Clemens on YouTube, my YouTube channel. Make sure you go and subscribe. Everybody that's watching, everybody on X, go ahead, open up YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow me on X at Gene Clemens. I always appreciate it.
Follow the man. He's locked in and locked on. To all of our viewers who are locked in and locked on, thank you so much for following along the Bleacher Brothers show tonight from 6 to 9 p.m. Coach John Jakus, thank you very much for coming on the show. Drew Shula, thank you very much for hosting with me, and Christian Proscia. Enjoy the NFL draft. That will conclude the Bleacher Brothers show for this week. AJ is off tomorrow. We will see you guys next week. For Coach Gene, I'm Robbie Lastella. Have a great rest of your night.
Keep it spicy.
In every port, where is your home, sweet home? Good night to all the soldiers.